with where we are, and that is with this up here. So Sandersville area, just outside of town, Wrightsville, again, storms coming in, and all of these are firing up, starting to make a racket in many places out there. So if you're in any of these areas that are not seeing thunderstorms, trust me, it won't be long before you probably do, because we have a ton of heat and humidity out there. If you walk outside, you can tell it's just very set up for thunderstorms that go large for a little bit. Let's take a look at the hail core situation out there, and we're seeing a lot of them. I mean, all of these patches that you're seeing there, those are all hail cores. Some of them a little bit larger than others, and watch as I go back in time. You can see the one outside of Irwinton just a little while ago, 1.5 inches in diameter with some of that. As we roll on down, watch some of these other ones as we head more into a live situation. That one blossoming here as you go right around where Houston, Peach, and Macon counties are, 1 inch easily in diameter there. So some towering thunderstorms. I mean, again, the heat and we're still looking at heat index numbers in the triple digits out there right now in some spots. Let me walk you through that. If you haven't seen that, you can see these are the actual numbers that are still going on. 88, finally some rain-cooled area down in our southern counties, 70s starting to show up. And as these storms get going and really start to kind of do what they're going to do, it's going to work this atmosphere over, cool it down and everything. Those dew points are crazy. But right now, the untouched areas are still sitting in the upper 90s to triple digits for how it feels outside. So a warning to the north in Ewan right up here. So this one, again, Butts County heading toward the south and west. Eventually that could be Monroe and Upson. This one here, this large one, this goes for Washington, Johnson counties. Next stops would be Lawrence and Trutland here in a little bit, and these have had some giddy up on them. And notice how quickly our storms have started to just take off here with a ton of lightning in these. And then earlier for Telfair, Dodge, and Wilcox, we had a severe thunderstorm warning, but not now. So the biggest ones are these. I would not be surprised to see a severe thunderstorm warning go soon for this one right here because of the hail core in there. That would be Peach, Macon, and Houston counties. And I'm sure if you're, obviously you don't need to be standing outside in this, but if you've been looking around, I mean, I know that our sky cams out there have been putting on a show with storms firing all over our area. I mean, just lightning by the thousands of lightning strikes. So obviously stay away from the windows as all of this is just really kind of taken off here. We've been watching storms off in South Carolina, to our south in the Albany area, and to the north. And the outflow boundary from all these just tapping into a powder keg of heat and humidity here. And finally, the convergence of all this is what's been creating that. That is crazy looking right there to look at all those cameras. So it doesn't matter which direction you look in, you're seeing the lightning off in the distance, or maybe it's right there at you. As far as the severe threat for this, as we go through the next couple hours or so, overall, waiting for this thing to load, the lightning didn't just stop there. This is not like a springtime thing where we're looking at rotation with this. This is straight line winds and hail, but still some of these storms have been putting down some pretty gusty winds. Let's take a look and see. No, this is not the one I wanted here. Let's go to this one. And you can see some of the bright colors there. Again, we're not necessarily looking for couplets like we would in a springtime situation with rotation, but this shows you where some of the strongest wind is. All right, so there's some bright green, bright red there, depends on the direction to or away from the radar. So this is coming toward the radar in green, away from the radar in red. But you just look forget about the color, the brighter color shows you where the gusty winds are. So as we look on over, that one that I was telling you, there it is. I was just about to say it again. I wouldn't be surprised to see a severe thunderstorm warning. So now we have multiple counties involved here. Let's get into the picture where we see all the warnings, and there they are. It is severe thunderstorm warning galore. Now we're looking at Crawford County, Peach County, Macon County, still in there with Wilkinson, Twiggs, Houston, Washington, Johnson, all with different storms right here. And we'll see how long they go. These things are just now firing up, so they're going to be strong at least for a little bit. And again, the lightning show is absolutely off the charts out there. So just stay away from the windows as these things come on across. Hail, one of the big problems. And of course, again, some gusty winds in there as well. But look at these hail cores. Anywhere you see yellow and orange, you're talking about hail at least 3/4 to maybe 1 inch in diameter once you get into the yellow. So this latest warning goes for, there's the fairgrounds right there. Matter of fact, let's go back. That hail, again, normally you would think that's moving right toward the fairgrounds. Again, a little bit different motion. It's really kind of moving more toward the west-southwest, and there's not a whole lot of movement with it. Let me take you back to the cameras here, and we have the 4-panel, which is up right here, but I wanted to show you with the, let's go to the Perry Skycam and see it. Of course, obviously, we're not going to be able to see hail or anything like that at night, but we can kind of get a look toward that thunderstorm. We're going to take that Perry Skycam full and pan around here. Okay, off in the distance, you will see now as I'm looking toward the west, this is where that storm is. That's the one right now that's putting down at least an inch in diameter hail. It is on the other side of I-75 over there. I mean, look at that light show, would you? And it is kind of creeping toward the west-southwest. Again, not moving in the typical direction where this would be heading toward the camera here at the fairgrounds in Perry. Mainly what this is, folks, is definitely just an incredible light show, some gusty winds, heavy rain, and some hail in there. Just stay away from windows inside with this until these eventually will wear themselves down. But right now they're still kind of in the blossoming stage. Just amazing with the Skycam shots right there. I mean, there's not even a pause almost in between these lightning strikes. Let's take a look at the, we'll go with the, let me look at it first to see if I can find the shot that I want here. We'll go Warner Robins Skycam. Again, that's the hail core there as we look from the fairgrounds in Perry. This is going to be Warner Robins. You can see all the lightning off in the distance there. You're going to see a really good shot pop up here in just a second. Right through there, off in the distance. But the Perry Skycam is the closest one I can get at least to that warning. But again, we have warnings on both sides of all these. So again, really going to dwarf the fireworks shows that we have next week with all the rumbles that are going on out there right now. Once again, just to show you the heat and humidity, such a big player out there. I know the Skycam's frozen for a second. We're loading this. Still just now below 90 degrees. And again, dew point's 82, 83 for a dew point. That is so saturated out there. So there is a ton of energy. So I'm not surprised to see these things just launching straight up in the air as far as the thunderstorm potential. Yeah, still heat index maybe in the triple digits in some of these untouched spots where we have not had rain yet. But eventually we'll keep checking that map and we'll start to see those numbers work down. But if you're anywhere from Edenton, Milledgeville, Gray, really still parts of the Macon area, Sparta, still very hot and muggy out there. But again, these are the storms we have for now. But as we have seen, and I talk about it all the time with these outflow boundaries, all right? So keep an eye. Here's one right here. Here's the one that really kicked these off. See that green line that I'm sort of following for you on the screen? That's the wind that was coming out of the storms from down here to the south. And as it made its way to the north, it works as like a small cold front, just shoveling underneath all this hot, muggy air and forcing it in the vertical. And thunderstorms are born. That combined with the wind coming out of these storms from South Carolina and the ones to the north, all just coming together just to finally, this atmosphere has been sitting waiting for something to give it some lift to get going, and that's what it is now. So looking at these storms over here that have been coming through South Carolina, they are in a race to see if they can get past Statesboro and Claxton in the next 10 minutes. Those have been kicking it all day, but there was the thought of let's keep an eye on these that are kind of an offshoot toward the west here into central Georgia as they come down. So this is Washington County into Johnson County. And I'm just curious here. Let's just do, and it's going to be an astronomical number because I'm doing our entire area here, but just to see if I can ask it a question. Of all this area in the past 15 minutes, over 2,500 lightning strikes. Of those, over 1,600 are positive, so cloud to ground. So stay away from the windows, folks. If you don't have to be outside, I wouldn't be doing that. Let's let these things pop up, work their way over, and then start to fall back down. But again, there's some areas that have not been touched. Watch areas that don't have anything. Keep an eye right here around Cochran. Watch it. I'll just go through a couple of frames and watch this one explode right there. So in these areas where we're not seeing thunderstorms, we're going to probably start to see some develop on the periphery of these storms. And that's the way this works. It's like throwing a pebble in a pond, and it's the ripple effect coming out of where that rock dropped the waves then come across, and think of it as a wake, then is going to go around and lift the atmosphere up around it, and then new thunderstorms will form. So if you're not seeing rain or having thunderstorms right now, there's a good chance you could still as we go through time here, because there's a lot of areas in the middle that are untouched. So just a rundown again of all the counties under severe thunderstorm warning: Crawford, Peach, Macon, Houston, Twiggs, Wilkinson, Washington, and Johnson counties, a good chunk of our area, all under severe thunderstorm warning right now. Hail core time, once again, this action that's over here, Washington into Johnson, if you see yellow, that's 1 inch in diameter. Notice as I take it back in time, you can see it coming down toward the south and west, and so eventually that's going to move more into Johnson County in a little bit. And again, a ton of lightning with all this. As far as hail cores with these other storms that are severe, at least 1 inch in diameter. Looking just off outside, west of Fort Valley, about 1 inch in diameter, so you're talking quarter-size hail there. Same thing for Twiggs County into Houston County. And as we go back in time, we can see that that hail core right there was just crazy. But that's part of the good thing about these, is they'll pulse up and then they'll kind of hang around for a little bit, and then sometimes they'll collapse fairly quickly. Right? So there's this thing popping up to 1.5 inches in diameter, and then it's not weak, but it's definitely not showing the same size hailstones as it was. So still really in the development stage for a lot of these. That one I was showing you in the Bleckley County area, pea-size hail right now. Watch how quickly that got going. I mean, just a couple of minutes ago there was nothing, and then that's there. So the next scan may start to show some bigger hailstones there. That is 11:45 on that Wilkinson Twiggs one there. That expires in 1 minute. We'll see if they let that go. But obviously, I'm not even sure when I did that count. I just want to do these storms right here. Did it? And that just seems like, I thought it'd be a bigger number for everybody. Let's see. Yeah, maybe it was right. Almost 1,500 lightning strikes just from Roberta to Marshallville to Bon Air to Jeffersonville. And once again, as I showed you a moment ago, the sky cams have been crazy looking out there, where there's hardly even a break in between the strikes. Again, that is from the fairgrounds in Perry as we look off toward the west there. So again, normally that storm, you would think, would be heading in the direction of this camera, but this is not the movement tonight. Sometimes the setup's a little bit different. You can definitely see the winds are coming out of the south right now with those flags whipping around. Let me see if I can hit it with the wiper and see if we can get a better look here. Again, the lightning strikes just crazy out there. And again, the big hailstones off in that direction. A lot of wind going on with that. Traffic still moving up and down 75 with it. We can go back to the 4-panel shot so we can get an idea with all of our cameras. I think it's about to load for us coming up here in a second. And it doesn't matter in whichever direction you're looking at. That is the Macon Skycam is the only one I don't really have it pointed at anything crazy, but that is Warner Robins bottom left, Perry top right, Dublin bottom right. I'll try to move some of these around so that they're all kind of seeing the same thing. But again, numerous severe thunderstorm warnings. I mean, almost too many to even mention. I'm going to see if I can get this Macon one to go. It's been acting up for me a little bit here lately, but we'll see if we can get it to move. Well, a little bit erratic this thing is. But anyway, the lightning, again, is one of the main things. Just try to stay away from the windows with all of that. The hail core, again, not safe to be out there at all right now trying to get any pictures of any of that. I'm sure there will be some pictures that will eventually come out of, look at all the hail that's on our porch. But I would not get out there right now. A lot of these strikes are cloud to ground lightning strikes. So that, you're talking about actually hitting the ground, not necessarily cloud to cloud. Let's see here. We can spin Dublin around. All right, so one of the more impressive things since we've started doing this 4-panel Skycam shot is every one of them just loaded up with tons and tons of lightning strikes out there. Again, over 2,600 lightning strikes per 15 minutes. So a very electric atmosphere, a lot of heat, a lot of humidity out there, and it was just waiting for something to give it lift. The convergence of the outflow boundaries from the storms to our south, the ones in South Carolina, the ones to the north, all coming together to create all of this. That is not one steady lightning strike. That is me loading a new map. I know that looks weird. in Perry right there. Come on, radar, see if you can load up. This thing is busy right now, so it's acting a little slow. The warning for Twiggs and Wilkinson expired 2 minutes ago. But these, I could spin that Perry sky cam around any way we wanted to go, and we would see thousands of lightning strikes in any direction. Bon Air under the gun right now with just a tremendous amount of lightning. Marshallville, Fort Valley, same thing. Perry, you're kind of stuck in the middle of all that. And yes, that storm that is off toward the west that I was showing you on the sky cam is going generally toward the west. This one right here coming in behind you is going to come in. And just to show you, I want to... Notice how these storms are moving toward the south and west. That outflow boundary right there, that green line I'm following with my arrow right there, that's the wind coming from the storms that were down in Albany and Dooley, Crisp County actually earlier. That's what's scooping up underneath this crazy atmosphere and forcing these thunderstorms. So even though these storms are riding toward the southwest, if you go back and look, the flags at the fairground in Perry are still blowing with the direction of that outflow boundary that is coming in from the south. What I mean is that's going north. So that is a southerly breeze. That's the outflow coming in from those storms in southwest Georgia, scooping up underneath all this heat and humidity, driving thunderstorms straight up in the vertical. Pretty wild to see that the winds at the surface are still coming in the south underneath all that. Again, the heat index numbers out there. When I load a graphic, it makes the cameras look a little screwy. Sorry about that. Here comes the graphic. Please don't slow down, Mr. Computer. Just to show you, the heat index is still amazing. Actual numbers out there are not as high as that, but they're still impressive. We're looking at mid to upper 80s in many spots, but there's some 70s starting to move in where the thunderstorms are kind of doing their job of cooling the atmosphere down. But I mean, it is loaded up with energy out there right now, so it's going to take some time for that to happen. I'm trying to load the hail map right now. Let's go on over to where it's brightest, anywhere from Washington to Johnson County. Again, I'm going backwards in time, going forward, and you can see the hailstones are easily in the 1 inch diameter with these. So anywhere you see yellow is an inch. If you look at the scale, anything in the orange shaded area is going to be somewhere probably a 1/2 inch to 3/4. So anything yellow is going to be kind of pretty much a quarter size hail. And there is no shortage of that. So quarter size on down with some of this other. And again, these are those storms that have the lightning strikes everywhere, and there's a fair amount of hail in there. At times we've seen the hailstones a little bit bigger. There's the big picture. All right, so let's go back to, just to show you, this was the main thing over here that's been going on in the Carolinas all day. We were waiting to see, were we just going to get clipped by this? And then I had questions about it. With all these thunderstorms around, could we fill in the middle? You got an outflow coming from here, outflow coming from down here we talked about, from over here. And so all that coming together, just forcing all this hot, muggy stuff straight up. And that's the reason why we're getting all these thunderstorms. Lightning strikes entirely too many to count, obviously, by hand. But as I mentioned earlier, just in this area alone, over 1,500 lightning strikes per 15 minutes. That is a lot of lightning. As far as the hail is concerned, I mentioned to you, upwards of 3/4 to 1 inch in diameter. We've seen it upwards from there, 1.25 to 1.5 inches. That warning goes for 9 more minutes in Twiggs and Houston toward Bon Air. The warning that is over here to the west for Crawford, parts of Taylor, Peach, and Macon counties, that goes until 12:15. And then there are other areas that are just untouched. Macon northward, not seen anything yet. We do have storms to our north up here that are just getting going. But again, any of this area in here, you just have to wait and see, is any of this going to fire up? Because, I mean, obviously, if you've been outside, you're like, man, it's got the feels, that's for sure. Same thing as we get into our southeastern counties, anywhere from Dublin, Eastman to McRae for now, kind of quiet, although some storms have been nearby and have had some rain-cooled air in some of these places. These over here have just been rockets coming down. I mean, we're talking about Statesboro, Swainsboro, all the boroughs, Claxton. They've had some giddy up on them at times, over 70-mile-per-hour winds today in the Carolinas. For the majority for us, we're seeing some gusty winds in there. Hail looks like one of the more widespread things. Let me come over and look at something while this is looping. See if I can see any new information from the Weather Service on these to see what their thinking is. Okay. And I'm talking about 50, 60 mile per hour winds, likely on the downburst signatures that come out of these. Still untouched. Okay, pretty much same thing that I was just talking about. So again, the storms that we know that we have now, and then the untouched areas, all the areas that are in between that still have not seen anything. So this is primed for thunderstorms to fire. This is primed for thunderstorms to fire. So anywhere that has not seen, obviously, thunderstorm action, you know, we looked at it on the temperature map just a moment ago. So we actually can do that now with this up. Let me see if I can get this to pause here. And we will put some of the numbers on here. All right, so just to show you the numbers where the rain-cooled area is, or at least it's trying to cool it down, we're seeing 77 in Dublin, Eastman, 71 over in Americus. 80s for the most part in some spots. Warner Robins won't be long. We'll check that number, and that one's going to be lower, you would think, because of the rain-cooled air and wind coming out of these thunderstorms. All right, I can't stop looking at the Skycam shots. They're just absolutely amazing here. Again, Macon top left, top right is Perry, Warner Robins bottom left, and then Dublin is going to be your bottom right. Obviously, the bigger, brighter areas are closer to the storms. Perry right in the heart of it right there. Let's take that one full again. And I'm going to spin it around because it doesn't matter where I go from this Perry Skycam. We're going to see lightning. First, we're going to hit the wiper on there so we can see a little bit better. All right, so right now we're looking toward the west. So I'm going to slowly kind of come around here. Still looking off toward the west. You can see I-75 out there. Coming around, you can see the flags on the Miller-Murphy-Howard building blowing there. Still coming in from the south, almost kind of coming in from the west as well. And then as we rolling around, that other storm looking backside of the clock tower. The other one that's over there. And you can see on the water down there, the wind blowing the rain there. So there's a storm on both sides of the fairgrounds. And that wind coming in from the storm on the other side of the interstate, coming in from the west right now. But this storm, I know it's a lot, coming in from the back side of the fairgrounds is heading toward us now in this direction. So you kind of have storms all around us. What did you say there, Producer Maggie? We have a video from our Amanda Kemp from Dexter. So yeah, seeing the same thing. Obviously, do this in a safe spot, guys. These are cloud to ground lightning strikes, most of them. So you don't want to be standing out in it. But this is in Dexter, is that what we said? Okay, yeah. And so this was sent in on our Facebook, on our user group there just a second ago. So again, the Perry Skycam, dynamic to say the least. Let's keep on panning around. And as we go on around the horn here, now we're going to be looking toward the interstate, south and southwest there. And really this one right here, as you get on around, that's the one that is kind of forcing the wind back into the Skycam right there. All right, so that, again, warnings on both sides. I'm going to get it back to where we can see. And you can see the clouds. When when the lightning fires up, you can get a shape of some of the thunderstorm clouds underneath there. So again, just multiple lightning strikes. Over 1,500 strikes every 15 minutes with these storms. Okay, so that's the Perry Skycam. Let's go back to the radar. The camera's glitching because I'm telling it to do something else. I'm going to load the radar, and it takes a while to load, nearly 2,000 lightning strikes. So there it is. Still, these untouched areas that are out there, our northern half, still not seeing anything. So we'll see if anything starts to fire up. I do see a lightning strike. Usually this is the beginning of things. See a lightning strike around Lake Juliet. We'll see if that becomes anything. Be really hard to imagine that these empty areas don't fill in at some point. Maybe they don't. There's a new severe thunderstorm warning just now coming out. This is for Johnson, Lawrence, Trutland counties until 12:45. I knew that was coming because this is that really this bowling ball of a storm that's coming down that's part of that South Carolina line that's been coming down. Just with this area alone, in the past 15 minutes, just that storm, over 1,600 lightning strikes. Over 1,000 of them could be cloud to ground strikes there. So again, away from windows, you'll be fine. You know, just stay in the centermost room of your house. We're not seeing anything rotating or anything like that. That's not what this is. But the straight line winds can be a little bit of a bear. Let's look at that. And you can see the bright colors in the Wrightsville area there. Let me go back to the base. Probably looking at easily 60 mile per hour winds with that coming down through Wrightsville, heading toward Dublin. And then as we roll over, looking at wind and these other storms, again, we're not looking at couplets. I'm not talking about tornadoes here. This is straight line winds with some hail. You know, think more summertime stuff. This is like summertime on steroids here. I mean, springtime, generally looking at rotation. This is severe thunderstorm warning type stuff here, but obviously can put on quite the show as we're seeing with the lightning strikes. Checking on the hail again. Quite the hail cores that are going on with that one, leaving Washington County, heading into Johnson County, easily in the yellow, an inch in diameter with that hail. And the reason why these things are carrying so much hail, again, just to think about it, you know, when a thunderstorm, especially these, are vaulted up. I haven't looked to see the cloud tops, the echo tops, how high these things are, but I bet they're way up there. They have so much energy in the vertical going up when those updrafts. And so you'll start to see raindrops will get caught up way up in the top of these storms, and they'll freeze into ice pellets. And then, let me see if I can do this on here like I do when we go speak at schools. So let's say this is a thunderstorm. All right, so then you have on one side, you would have your updraft, and then on the other side, you would have the downdraft. And what happens is these stones get thrown up into the top up here. And somewhere, this is not on the map, I'm actually drawing you a little picture. Up here is below freezing. It turns into ice, comes back down, can get water on it and go right back up again. And then around and around and around. It keeps freezing layer after layer after layer. The stronger the storm, the heavier the stone it can carry. And that's why we're seeing easily an inch in diameter with these storms that are out there. Eventually it gets to where it can't hold it anymore and then they fall to the ground. But that always is a good indication of the stronger the strength of the storm. If it can hold a golf ball size hailstorm up there and continually cycle it over and over again, it's the reason you can cut open, you know, a hailstone and there are rings in it, like rings of a tree. You can pretty much see how many times this thing has gone through the cycle way up thousands of feet up in the atmosphere over and over. Freezing, come back down, get rain on it, come back up, get freezing again. You know, it's over and over again. All right, big picture time. Again, those new severe thunderstorm warnings, Johnson County, Lawrence, Trutland. What's going through Wrightsville right now, definitely putting on a massive lightning show there. And I bet that the Perry Skycam has been quite the rock star showing the lightning out there, but the Dublin one will be as well before long as that lightning starts to get a little bit closer. So let's go back in and check on Perry. All the warnings, let me just go over them again right now, the ones that we have. Crawford, Peach, Macon counties, and parts of Taylor right now. Washington, Johnson. Johnson's actually part of two sets of warnings here. Johnson into Lawrence, Trutland counties. And then that's it for our warnings for right now. Not that we need more. Let's see what the Perry Skycam, again, this one has been electric for sure as we go through to the, I'm going to try to pull up the 4-panel. All right, it's loading up. Okay, so yeah, Warner Robins, Perry, Macon Skycam seeing stuff off in the distance, but we're not seeing thunderstorm stuff in the Macon area right now. That's why I'm wondering to see how long it's going to take. Does it, you know, it could be one of those weird nights where it just doesn't fill in that area. The storms just stay away. But I am going to go to the Dublin camera now and start trying to look more toward that storm. Let's see if I can spin this thing around. All right, so yeah, starting to see the lightning from the Dublin camera. Trying to look off, looking northeast, so should be somewhat looking toward that Johnson County part right there. So that's going to get a little busier with the lightning as that's coming on down. Again, Perry, Warner Robins just swallowed up with lightning right there. Many, many thousands of strikes. Just to check back in to see if any of this has, again, the lightning didn't stop. We're just loading a map to see if has changed the temperature. Warner Robins now down to 75. That's good. So once it starts working the atmosphere over, eventually these things will calm down. It's like being in they just burst the door open into a buffet that nobody has been at all day, and they're just crushing it right now. And then eventually all the food from that buffet is going to be gone, and there's nothing left, and they're going to have to leave or just have a seat and take a nap on the floor is basically what's going to happen when these collapse. Dew points not in the 80s anymore, seeing some 70s, still very muggy. Well, at least the heat index is out of the triple digits. This is some of the wind and rain-cooled air nearby that's been trying to kind of put the fire out here, but it still feels like 92 in the Macon area. But you can see where the rain has been and where it has not been. These sensors are not even that far apart, that it still feels like 92 in the Macon area. Okay, so multiple severe thunderstorm warnings still going. Washington, Johnson, Lawrence, Trutland, Crawford, Macon County, Peach County, just parts of Taylor County there. And the Houston County part has fallen out. That was until midnight. And now that's gone, so that's good. And hopefully we'll start to see more of these sort of drop off the map. Oh, thank you very much. Appreciate that, Hammer. All right. Water. All right. As we look at the one in Washington County, Johnson County, it's probably a tie game between this one and this one as to which one has the majority of the lightning. Still a ton of lightning right here around Bon Air. But this one right here is coming off of that main line that was coming through South Carolina. Let's just try to take a big picture look. And you can see more storms just to show you around the Atlanta area. So there are parts that are filling in. That's why it's kind of a mystery that this is here, but so far nothing in here. I do see a little bit of color trying to fill in Monroe County. So we'll see how it goes if this starts to fill in. I'm going to look at another source over here. Sometimes on this other part I can see the outflows a little bit better. And that will give you an idea of kind of where the next pop-up is going to be. There's a decent outflow. It's hard to see. I'll tell you what we're doing. Let's do this so we can see it better. We're going to take the lightning off. All right, so now let's all go outflow boundary hunting here. All right. So you can see the wind coming through downtown Macon right now. That right there. So there's an outflow. That's part of the wind there that's coming into Macon. See a little bit right there in Jones County. So we'll see if there's any convergence of all this. You're seeing some rain trying to fire up around Juliet right. And the way these work, once they get going, they just, next thing you know, just boom, a red blob right there. Having said that, we've seen some of these areas throughout tonight that have tried to fire up and get going and just are not hanging around. So for whatever reason, the dynamics in those areas are not coming together to get lift going. So again, when you take the lightning off, you can kind of get a better idea definitely where the heavy rain is in the red, and see a little bit better where there's another one for Twiggs and Wilkinson. So right back in the same spot as the one that expired a little earlier. So another storm redeveloping in that spot Twiggs and Wilkinson until 12:45. So that's a new one there. So let's check velocity. Yeah, you can see the bright green right there. I'm going to take the warning layer off so we can get down in there and ask it some questions. So what you do is you look at that and take the pixels. That's green because that wind is heading toward the radar. Once again, we're not looking for green and red right next to each other like we would in the springtime, looking for tornadoes. That's not what this is. So if that helps calm some nerves, still straight line winds and some hail and a lot of lightning. But this is not a springtime setup right here. But the reason I zoomed in was to ask questions to some of these pixels. How fast is this wind? Close to 60 mile per hour winds with this. I think 50 to 60, 55, 60, somewhere in there is a pretty good estimate on the wind on that. Let me zoom us out and take a look at some of the wind in this other. We're seeing bright colors here. Obviously a little bit of a gap in data here. But some of this heading in toward the Dublin area. Same kind of thing, 55 to maybe 60 at 58 mile per hour there. Heading toward the Dublin area. So again, not anything we can't handle. It's just, it's late at night and it's probably a little annoying until we get this on through. Let's take a look at the hail cores again. Not as large as what we once saw until we get in around Fort Valley here. So there's Peach County High School there. So this area outside of downtown's probably getting a little bit of hail. But here on the north side of town, seeing about a quarter size in diameter. So you can kind of get an idea of their Knoxville Street, places like that. Hail could be coming down a little bit on the large side. And any of these color spots you see here, those are going to be hailstones. That, again, if they're not yellow, it's probably ½ inch, something like that. So not super crazy. But watch as I go back when these, I'm going to go back in time. Watch how these things, when they first started to blow up, especially just outside of Irwinton right there, and that's 1.5 inches. Saw a lot of the big yellow explode right there at the Peach, Macon, Houston County lines, and then sort of subside. This is kind of how these things go. Once they start washing themselves out, hailstones are going to start to get a little smaller, and eventually the lightning will tail off, but right now that is definitely not the case. As we once again look around the horn, we're going to, I mean, everybody's got something going on there. And the Dublin Skycam, trying to see if I can, we're going to take this one full here for a second. Let me go full on the Dublin Skycam. And it looks like you can almost see the shelf cloud. Hard to see those at night, but if the sky were to light up enough, during the daytime, you would see this. This would be that dark shelf cloud that's ominous looking coming in. You can just barely see it right here. I think that's what that is. Yep. So when the lightning, watch when it lights it up right here. I can see it a few seconds before you do, right there. You can kind of see the outline of it. So that's the shelf cloud. That's just the leading edge of that storm coming in from Johnson County. Again, nothing to freak out about, not super crazy. Obviously the lightning is making things a little bit wicked looking out there, but 55, 60 mile per hour winds, totally doable. Maybe some hail in there that's ½ inch to at times maybe close to 1 inch in diameter. Mainly the lightning show is what's kind of grabbing most of the attention to me. Okay, well, let's go back to the, I'm going to go back to the 4 panel. And you can still see that Perry, top right, Warner Robins, bottom left. There's just no gap in between the lightning strikes. Dublin, bottom right. And then again, the Macon area, top left. Seeing storms nearby, but nothing that has made its way up here yet. But the outflow boundary from those storms has been coming into downtown Macon, because I saw it a minute ago. So we'll see if that starts to lift things up and create new thunderstorms there. Okay, let's check temperature again. It's going to make the Skycams freeze up, but this is just because it's loading data. Alrighty. Okay, well this is kind of a case study right here. You can see where the rain-cooled air is already carving in. 79 in Wrightsville, starting to knock the numbers down. Again, untouched area here though. 73, 74. So instead of all these upper 80s to 90, Cordial was at 90 earlier, and then it decided it just didn't want to report anymore. Just like, I'm done. So the dew points, pretty stout still. We're looking at obviously very muggy air out there. And the heat index is still a thing where the rain has not been. So again, in this area, it's primed and ready for storms, just hadn't seen it. But again, you can see it's been knocking some of the other numbers down. All right, let's just do another little check again. We'll take the ones up there too. We'll go out to here. In the past 15 minutes, 6,000 lightning strikes. Man, I can't remember the last time I saw that. That's in a 15-minute period inside that red box. 6,000 lightning strikes. Over 4,000 of which could be cloud-to-ground strikes. Man. So you take away the lightning, and you can see where the rain is. You can't see it at all if I leave that on there. It looks like it's snowing out there. New warning. I can see it right now popping up. This one's filling in the gap between Wilkinson and Lawrence County. You can see this one wedged in, Nicholsville right here. So what they did is they was like, hey, hold on a second. There's a gap between this storm and this storm. Let's fill that in with a pie piece right here. So that's what they just put in there. So this is going to be Wilkinson, Lawrence, Twiggs, looks like Bleckley not included just yet. But eventually it looks like these southeastern counties may start to fill in a little bit more. The northern counties, it may not happen. They may not fill in up there, which means you just stay hot and muggy and you sit around going, look at all the heat lightning that, again, doesn't exist. Again, heat lightning, summertime phenomenon, large, tall thunderstorms that are many miles away from you. You can see the lightning, but you cannot hear the thunder. The heat cannot cause lightning. People are always amazed when I remember the first time I heard that. I grew up thinking, oh, we can keep playing out in the yard. That's just heat lightning. All right, so if you're in the Dublin area down into eventually Soperton, this is going to be coming in. Right now it's just covered up all over Wrightsville now. I mean, look at Perry just sandwiched in the middle right here. Lightning strikes on both sides. I guess I'm going to have to take let's make an agreement. Everybody understand there's lightning? Let me take that away. So we can see where the storms and the warnings are a little bit better. All right, so we're some heavy rain in some of these spots as well. We saw that on the Warner Robins Skycam, Perry Skycam just a little bit ago. Again, Fort Valley, I looked earlier. There could be some hail in this area. It looks like that one, did that just drop off right when I moved that? It must have. 12:15 must have been the cutoff for that one. So Crawford, Peach, and Macon County, that warning has expired. So even though this is all putting on a big show with the lightning right now, there is no warning in this area. So look where this is. If we were on the Facebook thing right now, it'd be like, well, what about this? What about that? What I call the whatabouts. If you were going to say, what about Fort Valley? What about Warner Robins? If you look in this area, if you don't see a yellow box, you do not have a severe thunderstorm warning anymore, at least for now. We'll see as this comes in. Now, the thought would be is if these storms are kind of riding south and west, they would run into some rain-cooled air here. But it is such an energetic night out there with the heat and humidity that we have that some of these could just kind of come right into there regardless of how soon a thunderstorm had just been there. All of this, really, you could group this into one line. Usually they do, but this one was kind of done in pieces. You could just kind of do like this and take anything inside that box I just drew is a severe thunderstorm warning. So that includes Twiggs, Wilkinson, Lawrence, Johnson, and Trutland. And then eventually the next stop would be Bleckley County on down if they hold together. And there's no reason to think that they wouldn't hold together because these storms coming in from South Carolina, again, they've been kicking it. Whoa, look at that one in Crawford County there. That's over an inch in diameter now on that hail. Is that a new one? Let me see here. Let's go back. Yeah, look at that. Look how quickly they'll fire up. This was just a few minutes ago. I'm going to go forward. Boom. Just like that. New hail core. So Crawford County, you may end up getting a warning there in a second because of that hail core. Let me look and see with the wind if that would be a factor. Not that. I was asking for the wind. Where is the velocity map? There we go. I don't see a ton of wind with that in Crawford. There's a little bit of green in there. It's mainly the hail. We'll see if they issue anything for that because of the inch and a quarter in diameter hail there. Again, we're not looking for couplets. If you're just joining us, red and green next to each other, tornado stuff, that's not what we're looking for in this setup. This is for tons of lightning. And hail and some gusty winds upwards of 60 miles per hour, which is normal summertime thunderstorm wind things. But this kind of show we're seeing tonight is obviously overachieving for a summer night. And watch this area. Let me take the lightning off. Watch that leading edge right here. Notice how it kind of bows out, and there's, I'm going to zoom in. This is always a good indication. You can see where the bow is here. And notice how it goes from no color to boom, in the party just like that. So this is always going to be, this would be that shelf cloud I showed you a moment ago when we were seeing it. There's the outflow boundary going through Dublin right now. The wind's starting to come in. And it'll be just a quick, hey, how you doing? The wind just comes on in, 55, maybe 60. It's not, it doesn't look crazy, but it is severe thunderstorm warning wind. So again, just, stay centermost room of the house. Everything will be hunky-dory. I'm going to go back up top because I can see the sky cams on another monitor over there, and let's see. All right, I'm going to swing the, new beep. What is this one? Is this going to be for Crawford? That was my hunch. Let's see if that's what it is. Come on, load up. This thing is taking longer and longer. Oh, no, that's, there it is right there. That is for Trutland and parts of Wheeler. So what they've done here is that whole line has been bare all day today. So all of this really could just be one huge severe thunderstorm warning right here. All right, so let me go back up. I'm just curious to see in the Macon area. All right, so watch those outflows converge right there. You see that? The wind and the wind into all those green lines coming together. So far, though, not becoming anything. That would be where you're going to see it, though. If we're going to have a new storm, it should pop up probably somewhere right in here. It is trying to do that in Monroe County, just to the west of Forsyth. Watch how quickly those red blobs just show up. So that's trying to fill in some of the untouched area. Our northeastern counties, Putnam, Jasper, Baldwin, Jones, I mean, we'll see. It may not get anything because there have been some cells that have been trying to get going and they never could. And the wind here is kind of just flowing this way. But you can see multiple outflow boundaries all coming together right here. So this, one would think, as they all come together, like zipping up a zipper right here, you should start to see a corridor of probably thunderstorms developing right along through there. Okay, around the horn we go. Washington, Johnson, Twiggs, Wilkinson, Lawrence, Trutland, Wheeler. The next stop on this, and I see no reason why this won't keep going, will eventually be Bleckley, Dodge. This whole area right here, all of this will eventually come through here. All right, let's go back to the hail map. Still, that hail core over in Crawford County showing about 1 inch in diameter. But no warning for that. That's south and west of Roberta there, but this is kind of rolling into Taylor County. Again, a weird movement tonight. This is not that west to east thing. Watch how I kind of back it up. It's really kind of slow toward the southwest, and also just redevelopment in spots where it's just trying to eat up all that atmosphere. It's just so much energy that it's kind of recycling in some places. So a lot of warnings for sure. A very busy night. I mean, you think about today. I mean, Dublin today, the heat index was 115 degrees. So there is no shortage of energy there. Let's go back to the sky cams, and you can see they all are firing up. And as we look into I want to look at specifically, we'll go to the Dublin camera. We should be right there that I'm about to get. This is going to be the shot. There it is. All right, we're going to hit the wiper here, and the front edge of this storm will be coming through momentarily, and we should be able to tell that by the trees down here. Let me jog a little bit to the right. All right. Ambulance still running out there tonight. So again, this is kind of where that sharp edge is, and you can see it. I think it's about to come in. I can see some of the rain bands. It should be a pretty quick, just like, here I am. Yep, you can see it starting to blow the trees. There's that tent down there. Gonna hit the wiper again. This should be the front edge. Now this will be the leading edge of those storms that have been coming through South Carolina today, which were some of the main players that really kind of initiated a lot of this. And they've been working all afternoon. They started up in North Carolina, they came through South Carolina, and now through here. And we're on the outside edge of that, just enough that it's getting anywhere from Washington County on down. Yeah, you can see the street down there. Whoops. You're going to see that I just hit the autofocus. It happens. All right, let's hit the wiper. That's what I meant to do. Yeah, look in the street down there. You can see the leading edge of this coming in now. So this is the front edge of that severe thunderstorm warning. It looks to be maybe like 60 mile per hour winds. Again, not super crazy, nothing to freak out about or anything like that. Just do the normal thing, stay away from windows and everything. But it is kind of fun to watch on the camera, knowing you don't have to be up there on the Fred Roberts building standing there watching it. There is, the trees starting to show some wind. The hail in this one that I checked earlier, which is most of it's still back in Johnson County, looks to be maybe a ½ inch to 3/4. And again, most of that with a lot of these storms has been the lightning, has been one of the main issues. All right, so that's the leading edge of that storm. I'm going to go, I still don't think the main thing is even there yet. Let me look. It's fun to nerd out on these things. Let's go to the radar shot as that freezes up there for me to load this. Okay, so part of what we were just seeing is down here. That's what was kind of blowing down the street. And then there's all this up here that's about to come in. Let me do a hail check on that. Again, some hail in there, pea size to maybe ½ inch. That's not the main problem. And really the wind let me go back to the wind. We are seeing some bright colors in there. So, I mean, we could have, I don't know about in the Dublin area. It looks like more as you go from southwest Washington County down into Wilkinson. Again, this is not going the typical direction where you would think it would be going east. This is going southwest. So we have to kind of change our mindset about the way this is working out there. Let me take the warning layer off and just check in on some of the wind. Some of these blue pixels may give us some higher numbers. Yeah, could be up to 65 mile per hour winds coming out of Washington County into Wilkinson there. Now, these storms, that when they were in South Carolina earlier today, some of those severe thunderstorm warnings had taglines 70 to 80 mile per hour winds. All right, I'm going to, because I can see off to the side over there, and take you back to the Dublin sky cam. Okay, so we knew that East Dublin was kind of getting that one part of the storm, and now this is the rest of that main core is about to plunge right into there. All right, hit the wiper. Because after a while, looking at a radar, you know, just looking at spilled paint on the wall here. Let's take a look. Hopefully that tent's going to be all right down there. Flag waving off out there. Again, some of the wind in this, it looked to me to be probably around 55. Hard to tell in some of those spots. Could be a little bit higher. That part from Washington County into Wilkinson County looked more like 60 to 65. All right, I'm going to tilt this down now. Earlier we were trying to find lightning off in the distance, so. Yeah, those are some blowing bands of rain down there coming down the street. All right, here's the main edge, I think, starting to come in really. And again, just think about that Dublin today with a heat index of 115 degrees. Just so much energy out there for these storms to tap into. Tent is wavering. Let's see if it'll hold on. So far, looking good down there. Again, the main wind shot is going to be on this leading edge as it comes through. And then after that, it should just be somewhat gusty with some heavy rain, obviously, and then still a fairly large lightning show going on. All right, so this is with the Dublin storm. This one, if you look up top too into that light, you can kind of see how fast the clouds and rain are moving. Oh no, it froze up. Ah, there it is again. That car doesn't care. Smooth like butter. All right, let's go. If I see anything crazy with the camera, I'll take you back there. It is hypnotic, though, to look at that. All right, so as we go to the radar shot, again, I don't know if you saw this earlier, if you were just joining, over a 15-minute period for all of Central Georgia, we had over 6,000 lightning strikes. What you are seeing here, well, and again, the main shot of wind in that storm, to me, it was more right here anyway. So I mean, we're seeing a lot of wind in the Dublin area there, but the bowing part is right through there. Obviously, still the Skycam is still very impressive as I look over there. The only severe thunderstorm warnings that we have right now: Twiggs, Wilkinson, Again, Wilkinson with a couple of them there. Lawrence County, Johnson, Washington, on into Trutland. And again, to take away the lightning, so you can see all that a little bit better. And it looks like there's so many polygons here. So this big one right here that it's pointing at, that goes until 1245. That's the one that I was just showing you the sky cam for. The one that it is pointing to in Wilkinson right there, Lawrence, Washington, Wilkinson, there's a separate warning. It's all from the same line though. That one also till 1245. What say you two? Okay, so all of this is until 1245. All these yellow boxes you see, it goes until, so for another 12 minutes. The one down here for Trutland, it goes until 1. And you can see they've already started issuing warnings out ahead. I mean, Hazelhurst to Jessup now is already getting them from this line. Again, interesting. Is that a new warning? Sure is. All right, so what they did is, this one's going to ding in there in master control, Chris Connors, in just a second. This one is going to be for that whole line, and it replaces all these little ones. And they went ahead and put one big one down that goes until 1:30. And so welcome back to the party, Houston County, Twiggs County, Bleckley, Pulaski, Dodge, Lawrence, Trutland, Telfair, Wheeler, all until 1:30. So that's a full hour. Put the lightning back on there and take a look up top. Don't want to ignore you, Monroe County. You've been trying to fill in the gap here with where these outflows are. And it's just mind-blowing to me. South Bibb has been getting in on it. Let me go back in time. Yeah, it's been creeping up a little bit. Parts of South Macon trying to get in on it. But as you go just north of all that, I mean, it's just, just right outside of all the action. Let's go back to the Dublin sky cam here. Wind getting a little bit whippy out there at times. Definitely all the lightning has finally made its way to town. Again, that's one of the main problems with these storms is these lightning strikes. So just stay away from the windows until this can either settle down, which these are not going to do. You just have to wait for them to move through. There's just way too much energy out there for these things to just fizzle. So they're just going to have to roll through. And again, they're going in a different direction from what we're used to. This is not a west to east thing tonight. This is moving toward the southwest. So it's going to kind of messes with you a little bit. You know, you're kind of used to like, I know which window to go look out, you know, when a storm's coming, but this is going the other way. Normally in the Lawrence County stuff here in Dublin, I'd have this camera spun around the other way and we would see it coming down the street from that direction. But you can see obviously everything's going backwards here tonight. Occasionally you'll have a setup like that. I'm going to move around though a little bit just to see how things are looking. Yeah, like when we've had other storms coming through, I'd be on this intersection and those traffic lights are blowing this way. Well, you're not going to have to water the grass tomorrow, so that's good. And really, after a hot day today, this is just what the doctor ordered. Again, it was the Dublin area where I saw the biggest heat index of the day, in case you haven't heard that. 115 degrees for the feels like number today. Yeah, you can definitely tell the lightning has caught up to the party. There was the wind and some rain, but the flashes are plenty. Tent's holding up. Kudos to whoever stood that thing up. All right, let's see. We can go. Take you back to the 4-panel shot here, which should be coming up. All right, so wow. Warner Robins just lit up like a Christmas tree down there, bottom left. Macon, again, look at the Macon area. I'm going to take that one full. This one's kind of wild to me because it has no thunderstorm. It is looking, let me see if I can get this thing to focus. We have had some issues with this thing lately. We're going to see if we can get it to do it. All right, you're going to see it zoom into the cloud. It may or may not fix itself here. Maybe a little better. All right, so this is looking toward the thunderstorms that are underneath us here in the Macon area. So this is looking south. So talking about just getting grazed by it. Now some of that stuff is trying to creep up this way from the south, and we'll see if it starts to fill in up this way, but so far not the case. All right, so lightning show. What a lightning show tonight. Let's check in on Warner Robins' full shot. Yep. A little crazy there too, for sure. Perry. Still with a ton of lightning. Oh, don't freeze up. Let me see if I can get it unstuck. There we go. All right, we're going to spin it around. See if we can start looking in the direction of the next storm that is going to be kind of coming near there. It's wild, isn't it? You say, next storm? Yeah, well, a lot of times you hear me say, well, this part of the atmosphere is worked over, so this is going to weaken coming into here and all that stuff. There's just so much energy out there. Again, until we get this huge bulk that's been coming in from South Carolina to kind of push on down, it's going to take some time to work this down. Okay, back to the radar coming your way. That one big warning. It's going to kind of clean the map up here in a minute because in 5 minutes, a lot of those polygons are going to drop off and they're just going to be left with the big ones. Oh, interesting up here. Let's see. Macon area is trying to fill in a little bit. Those outflow boundaries that I was showing you earlier, see how they're starting to collide. Lizella, down Hartley Bridge Road, starting to fill in. That's that stuff I was showing you on the Skycam a moment ago. So this may, a little while ago I was telling you that watching this corridor area right here, it may start to fill in. It's been doing it in Monroe County because that's where these outflow boundaries have been coming together. Our northeast counties, I'm not so sure anything's going to happen there. It's kind of a cutoff right along through here. But the Macon area may get in on it. I'm for sure you can hear the thunder and everything and see the lightning off in the distance. It's just trying to kind of back build up that way. You can see it filling in from Monroe to Crawford to Upson for sure. And again, your outflow boundaries all colliding right here. Boom. Man, look at that. Are we good or what? Talking about it, and there it is. New severe thunderstorm warning, Monroe. Until 1:15. Mr. Connors in there in the master control. You're about to hear a ding. There it is. So that's a new severe thunderstorm warning. So we have numerous severe thunderstorm warnings going on right now. And it's almost as if you can start to kind of see, and sometimes this will happen, things may start to kind of get linear. You may start to see a line developing here, and then see if it all sweeps south and west. We'll have to watch and see if that's the way it's going to start going. Notice how everything in South Carolina quickly, once it comes through, it has done its job. It has washed that atmosphere over, and it is calming down. So eventually that is what it'll look like here. But we got a long way to go before all that comes through and does that. Bibb County sitting all by itself in the middle with nary a warning. So in that whole arc there, it's kind of wild. There's this one left out spot right here for Macon, unless those outflows do their thing. I've been calling for it, like Babe Ruth pointing out the wall out there, so we'll see if it happens. But it is happening in South Bibb. So if you're in South Macon, West Macon, you know what I'm talking about. A lot of lightning and heavy rain coming down. Just a breeze for most of downtown North Macon for right now. The Dublin area, we showed you the Skycam earlier. Most of that initial shot of wind and rain has come through. I mean, it's clearly a ton of rain and lightning still coming through, so that's not over, but that initial leading edge has come in. But look at this. If you are, just to show you how much energy is out there tonight, on a normal night, this area where Bon Air is, where it's just coming down earlier, that would have been worked over. These storms would come into a rain-cooled atmosphere and they'd be, forget it, you can't do anything else. Still enough energy that this line is starting to form and it's going to roll right back through these places again. If you're in the Bleckley County area, Cochran, a couple of rumbles on both sides of you there, but nothing there just yet. But the thunderstorm line that is to your north and east will be coming in. Once again, keep driving home that this is not the normal motion of thunderstorms that we see. This is going to come in from your northeast and head southwest. So it's pretty much backwards from what we normally see. And it's just the setup for this pattern is the way this is playing out. Nothing crazy. Sometimes you see waves like this. But just to pause that there and to take away the lightning, I don't know. We'll see what happens, but that's kind of wild looking to me that you have kind of a line and a line, and then you have Macon. So we'll see if that fills in. The fill-in may be what's happening now in South Macon, and that may be it. That might be the beginning of the line, and then it all starts pushing south and west, and everybody else up here just kind of gets left out. We shall see. Okay, so with the lightning off, it kind of gives you an easier look at the formation and the movement of all this stuff. Let's kind of breathe that in there for a second. So clearly the motion with these storms in our southeastern counties, I mean, there's some giddy up on that. You can see it coming in from the Carolinas as it's rolling through Vidalia and Dublin. It's not going to take long to roll through our southern counties there. And I think what's happening, like I mentioned earlier, I think that's what this is. I think this is going to be a line. And that's not the one I wanted. I tried the squiggly one. Like this. I think that's what's starting to form. And then what we're going to see is that line march on down like this as we go through the next couple hours and clear everything out behind it. So that's what seems to be happening, is everything is starting to line up. So, interesting to see, again, Bibb County with no warning, with everybody else with a warning. But, I mean, that's a good thing. I'm not wishing for one to happen. Let's see. Let's go back and check on the hail. South Bibb, Hartley Bridge Road, there is a little bit of hail down there. These are just pockets of hail that are not crazy, all right? So once again, when we ask the question, what size hailstones are these? You're looking at 1/2 inch in diameter. So that's, pea size are a little bit larger, so that's not a huge deal. Same thing in these other ones, Twiggs, Wilkinson, Lawrence County. So again, you can even kind of get an idea of a line, sort of, with where those hail cores are. And then you have this down here in Dooley. So not the same hail size we saw earlier, but let's see if we can walk it back. This is going to go back in time. And notice bright yellows and even some greens and blues at times in there. When they were first starting, going forward again, you can see some of the bigger hail cores. And now they're a little bit smaller, but lightning aplenty for sure. No shortage of that. Thousands and thousands of lightning strikes. All right, so this kind of cleans the map up a little bit. Let me take away the lightning again. But just to show you now that those other warnings have dropped off for the 1245 expiration, you can see the ones that are left now. And watch how these things just churn in right into there. Perry Skycam, not as crazy as it was. Dublin still with a lot of lightning, but the wind and rain not as crazy as it was. The tent remains. Rock on, that's good. How about Warner Robins? Oh, that's boring. How about the, well, there's one. How about the Macon area? Ooh, something wicked this way comes. As we look at this, again, from where this camera is in downtown, you can see the top edge of the thunderstorm. And you can see the clouds pushing north. It's just not fully making its way more up into the Macon area. Again, South Macon and West Macon are seeing it. All right, I'm about to move it around. This is a pretty cool shot coming up. You'll see it right there. So obviously we're on top of the medical center there. You can see the sign. We're on top of the Hart Tower. So in the storm nearby, but just not moving up north. All right, so we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously pretty creepy looking out there, but the storms so far not materializing in the Macon area other than South and West Bibb. I shall take you to the temperature map because I want to see what this has been doing to things. Again, when this all started a little while ago, what was it? Hour and a half ago or whatever it was, we had some big numbers out there. Edenton still showing back up at 90. It actually looks like it went back up. 84 in Gordon, 82 Milledgeville, 84 Sparta. So obviously those areas are primed. I mean, it's very hot and muggy. Macon has dropped to 71. So that rain must be up far enough that it has hit the airport and it has knocked the number down. That's where that sensor is. Humidity levels, again, crazy through the roof. So the heat index, you can see what the rain has done. It's knocked a ton of these numbers down. But again, that northern half, northeast quadrant up here, still just sitting hot and muggy. And again, it's because this line, the way this is setting up now, I think you might get mist and dist anywhere from Gray to Milledgeville to Edenton. Let me zoom back in. Ah, the theory was right. Look at that. That's, sorry, I'm nerding out a little bit. Where those outflow boundaries come together right there, there it is. Finally filling that gap in. It's mainly kind of the 1/2 of Bibb County. But let's take away the lightning. And I will zoom in. It's amazing how this stuff works. Watch as we go back. It's not there, it's not there. There are the outflow boundaries. right here, all coming together. Go forward. Boom, starts to fill in. It didn't fill in over all of Macon yet. We'll see if it still does, but you can see where the line is starting to connect. Pretty much like that. And so now everything is going to be running south and west from there. Let me see a couple little blips back here. All right, so we'll let that loop there for you without the lightning, and you can see it all filling in right along that. Just enough out of reach though, so if you're in some spots, so this is kind of crazy. Let's do this. If you're in the Macon area, and thank you, Connors, appreciate that. Pretty much one side of the other of Eisenhower or Mercer University, either one you want to call, really you're south of that, you're there in it, and north of that, you're not in it. Lake Wildwood, kind of staying on the west side of 475 and just out of reach. And as we go back in time, you can see that here comes the outflow boundary coming across, wind through Wesleyan College right there. And then the rain decided to set up right there along 475. And there's really nothing to force it toward the north and east. So this might just be where the back edge is going to set up, and then everything will start moving southwest from here. Or, who knows? This up here could start to fill in. I just don't see it happening right now. Okay. Severe thunderstorm warning. This one right here again is an all-skate. Bleckley, Dodge, Pulaski, Telfair until 1:30, which also does include Trutland and Wheeler. Who am I leaving out there? Twiggs, Wilkinson, Houston is technically in it if you look at the polygon shape. Ooh. Let's see, is that? All right, we'll go back and check the Macon Skycam. It might be like right on the doorstep of that Skycam. Let's see. I think we're looking south. Yeah, okay, so that's that outside edge where I just showed you that red blob. That's where the defined line is out there. That's where the cutoff is. That's the wall of rain right there way off in the distance. Interesting. All right, so let's go to the, I don't know, that's kind of fun to watch, isn't it? Maybe it's just me. I could sit and watch that stuff forever. All right, so let's go back to the old radar and see how things are shaping up out there. That new warning that I mentioned earlier, I haven't paid a whole lot of attention to that. I need to go back to that one. That is for Monroe County. So if you're thinking, thank you, you're in for Forsyth going, finally you're talking about that. Yes, making a lot of racket there, a lot of lightning and heavy rain, and there's a new ding going off. What is this one for? This one is where they're just filling in that last little pie piece down there at the bottom for Telfair and Wheeler. You can see where it's glowing. All they did is just throw a little pie. I know this is a lot of stuff. Just anything you see that's got yellow around it, that's a severe thunderstorm warning. Let's go back up top to the all of this, since this has been filling in. This is still, these are all new storms. Because if I go back in time, and you can see the clock top right of your screen, notice as I go back, this is just in like 20 minutes. We could say 30 minutes. So there it was 30 minutes ago, and then going forward, just boom, just like that. So let's check with the hail and see if there is some hail in there. West of 75, west and southwest of Forsyth, You can see as we go back in time for a moment there, and that's when the warning was issued. You can see an inch in diameter. See if any of these streets ring a bell for you. Ingram Road, Vaughn Road, Aubrey Mays Road. This was earlier, just outside of town. Now, well, it's still some little hail there, but the size has come down. It's that initial pulse of the storms. That's where you're going to see the brightest color when they first stand up. Okay, so I'm not seeing as many hail cores in some of the older storms that have been around for an hour or two. Notice as we go back in time, you can see a lot of bright color. Notice going at Houston, Peach, and all that down in there. A lot of that is washed out. Okay, what kind of video are we talking? What were we about to say? A ring camera video from Crawford County. All right, you've piqued my interest. Well, that's cool. Yeah, so this is Crawford. I'm trying to think about when this was. Highway 42, I wonder when this was. It might be with these storms that are going on now. Oh, I can't see that, Collinsworth. You said right, okay, the time down there is, oh, right at midnight. Okay, so this is when those storms were coming in toward the Crawford County area. And of course now there's rain and stuff everywhere. So this was when you get the best show before the rain gets in and kind of messes it up. All right, so this is gonna be Fort Valley. Yeah, and we're doing it through a window, it looks like. So not outside, so that's good. They got some hail there too, they're saying? Yeah. Quite a lightning show out there tonight. Thank y'all for sending these videos in. This is good. I don't want you to get hurt though. So it looks like a screen. I wouldn't get too close out there. Again, a lot of these strikes are cloud to ground that we've seen tonight. Sure, we'll probably hear about some of that tomorrow, maybe some trees or whatever that got hit. I haven't heard anything of it. Do we have any power outages or anything? Has anybody checked on that? This is an awful lot of lightning. Not really. Okay, well, that's good. According to Georgia Power. I like that. All right, so we'll take the lightning off there so you can see the motion of all this and see how it's lining up, like I was just talking about. And you can start to get the idea of the red line getting together from Forsyth down through parts of Macon anyway, and then on down I-16, pretty much running underneath I-16 now as far as the part that has the gustiest winds. And that is going to act as kind of like a broom that will eventually sweep south and west and get on through here, especially that part on the right side of your screen. Now, that's the stuff that's been coming in from South Carolina, and it's definitely had some giddy up to it as it's been coming down. I'm sure the Carolinian Indians are glad to see that gone. All right, as far as the hail I mentioned earlier, we're not seeing as much, but definitely some still out there. Look at the heavy rain in Monroe County right now. Look at all that red right there. That's a pretty good shot of rain. And, uh-oh, look. Hey, it is trying to fill in Jones County right there. Those outflow boundaries, they're wanting to do it. You can see the collision of them right here, trying to form at least rain here. We'll see if this turns into something else. Sometimes it starts like this and then fizzles out. Usually if it's going to be a big thunderstorm, you'll go from one scan to the next one, just one huge red blob. These are starting kind of little, so I'm not so sure this is going to become a thunderstorm, but we'll see. You can just see where, again, it's just where the dynamics are set up for lift here, and it just has not been present in these northeastern counties. So you can see where there have been attempts to get going and just can't hang. So that's in Jones County there. It's probably just going to sail on down south and merge into the rest. But again, you can still see the wind coming out of the Macon area. So if you're in gray, at least as a consolation prize, you'll get the outflow boundary coming in from the Macon area. And that's where this rain is forming. It is the collision of that one and this one. So think about it. If you had two, you and a buddy, each had a leaf blower standing in your driveway, you pointed at each other. Well, then that wind hits each other. It's got to go somewhere, right? Well, if you were along the surface and you were doing that, It may disperse a little bit left or right, but it's probably going to shoot up because the wind is colliding together. So in this case, two huge rolling lines of wind on the surface coming together. It's just got to do something. So it's going to force air up in the vertical. It's just going to launch up. And that will lift that hot, muggy air up and then create new thunderstorms. That's how that works. All right, yeah, South Carolina is pretty much emptied out now, and so have the boroughs, Waynesboro, Swainsboro, Statesboro, starting to all clear out. That warning there, again, goes until 1:30 for places like Twiggs. Wilkinson's technically in it, but the leading edge is what you're looking at there. So Twiggs, Bleckley, Dodge, you could still consider parts of Lawrence County, I guess, in that, but it's mainly that leading edge. So we'll just see what they do, the National Weather Service, as this goes on, because 1:30 is still 27 minutes away, and this leading edge is going to be cutting through this area and coming out of this polygon before long. So we'll see if they attach another one down here. Let's check on the wind. Yeah, the wind does not look as strong. It's hard to tell down there. All right, so what am I looking at here? We're going to say a power outage map from Flint Energies. Am I reading that right? That 715 are out in house? No, what am I looking at there? I can't see that. Let me see. Restored. Oh, the yellow number. Okay, okay. So the Macon area, 208, 150, 136. Poor old Marion County, that one guy. One power outage. Wonder who it is. But Houston County, they're getting back online. Looks like 715 have been restored right there, so that's good. And was that Flint that I was just looking at? Flint Energies? Okay, so we don't have Georgia Power as far as we know. We haven't seen it. All right, we're going to check on that. Okay. Okay. Who wants to see a sky cam? That would be me. Let's go back to the Macon sky cam and see the clouds of the storm that is basically just waving to downtown Macon as it goes by. Not seeing it move up any farther toward the north. All right, let's see. We're going to do a 4-panel shot. And again, if you were looking earlier, I mean, it was something. Looking at all these sky cams, I mean, still you've seen a lot of lightning out there, but I mean, when it was really just, I mean, it was all in the course of like 10 minutes. They all fired up at one time. I'm going to try to clean these up a little bit. We'll take the wiper to them. All right, so things are looking better out there, except for the places where we don't have cameras, and that would be Monroe County. We need to put one up there. That's what we need to do. Let's write that down. All right, so for Forsyth area, no shortage of lightning there, and a storm really that is still growing. And you can see all that from Monroe, Upson, Crawford, just ballooning up, still with a ton of lightning there. Let's check on the hail for that one. They just issued a new severe thunderstorm warning for Upson out ahead of that I just saw. And you can see that the Thomaston area has about an inch in diameter hail there. So we're probably going to hear the ding again. New severe, yep, there it is. New severe thunderstorm warning for, looks like Monroe. Yeah, it's Monroe. Well, does it even mention it? It's barely clips Monroe, but it's not mentioned, it looks like. But anyway, Culloden area on down over into the Upson County area. That little bit of rain that's been trying to get going in southern Jones is just that, a little bit of rain. Again, just the way things are set up, that's the cutoff. It's right there in the middle of Macon and right around near Forsyth. Anything north and east of that is just not going to get going, it looks like. Yeah, you can definitely start to see the line. Russ. All right. Well, there's the big picture. Anywhere from Dublin north and east from there is kind of quieting down. I mean, you know, you're still probably seeing the lightning and hearing the thunder out there, but the main bulk of all this is swung through. So even when we've been looking at the Dublin Skycam, it's not nearly what it was earlier. That's all come through. But if you're in Eastman, you probably have the look of what we were seeing in Dublin a moment ago. Cochrane, same thing. Technically a severe thunderstorm warning. Again, not super crazy, and actually, unless I'm just imagining things, it doesn't look like there's as much lightning with these storms. Now, this up here, yes, because that's a brand new storm, so this thing is still getting going. There's a lot here, but you can kind of follow with your eye. Look at all these, and then notice, again, once they start turning gray, that means they're old strikes too. Not seeing as many as we did earlier, so we'll see what happens if they continue the warnings all the way down, eventually through Dooley, Crisp, Pulaski, Wilcox, and all that until it finishes through our area. I'm not sure yet. Yeah, it's pretty wild. You look at that, it's like all this is forming, outflow boundaries and all, and this is forming, it's like something's holding it back this way, like, no, you cannot go any farther north and east. Hail, we mentioned up here, Monroe into Upson. I've been seeing that. Most of it's pea-size hail, but there could be some a little bit larger. Let us check again. I'm going to go back in time a little bit, and you can see right outside Forsyth there for a second. In yellow, that was about 1 inch in diameter. That's when the first warning was issued. And now Thomaston has some of that. Let's check back with these others. It gives us an idea of the strength of these storms or lack thereof. We do see about 1 inch in diameter here right outside Vienna. This is going to be on 75 between Pinehurst and there. And this has been that whole complex just kind of milling around. But as we look at these other storms back here, when we do it with the hail size, we go back in time, you can see at the top of your screen, you can see where they just blew up. And then now we're not seeing as much in the way of hail. There's some pockets of it out there, but not along that main line as much. So that big warning, the one that's covering a lot of real estate right there, again, that one goes for 20 more minutes. So at some point, Peachtree City, because this thing's going so fast, is going to have to decide what they want to do out front. Because this is, you probably hear me say this, it's going to outrun its cage here in a minute. This is the polygon that contains where the severe part is, taking into account where it started, how long it takes to get to here. Once it gets past that, then you got to figure out if you want to put something out here. Again, if you watch with the lightning strikes, you can tell where the newest storm is. I mean, just all these bright white strikes, fewer gaps in there, gray strikes, older ones. All right, I'll put you on the cameras here just for a second. We'll walk over and take a look, see what Peachtree City is saying if they're – 'cause, 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 'c Trimmed off the northeast side of the watch. So they're trimming some of the watch counties out. No. Okay. Nothing new there other than the watch counties have been cut back a little bit. So we do have a severe thunderstorm watch, which goes until 4 a.m. And you can see that on the big picture that's trying to load for you. Okay, so there's the watch box. But what we can do is, that's not going to show us where they've trimmed back. Let me go back to this other source. Stand by. Okay, so I will stop that there. Take the lightning and the warnings off. And for that matter, the radar. And what we'll do is we'll put the, where is it? Watch counties. Okay. So these northeastern counties are being trimmed out. So it looks like it's not going to build in here. So Putnam, Hancock, and Washington are out of the severe thunderstorm watch. So the theory is there that this line is forming and then it's going to push on toward the south and west. What is that one for? I'm hearing the ding again. Hold on. What? Is that a tornado warning? Hold on a second. It is. Upson County, tornado warning. I'd said earlier, this is not that kind of night where that's what we're looking for, but you can never fully rule it out. We'll see how long it lasts there, but there is a couplet there. So around the Atwater area in Upson County, a little spin there. I wouldn't imagine that's going to stay. This does not really line up with the setup, but we'll see. There's clearly a spin there. All right, so that's for Upson County until 2. But again, moving west, so it's moving out of our area. Interesting. I haven't seen rotation in any of this stuff. I'm assuming that with the combination of all these outflows hitting each other and all these different winds shifting in direction. See, look at this. You see it right there, and the next scan, it's almost gone. So this is what we refer to a brief spin up. That's what this looks to be. So we go there, gone. So the new scan, you can't even really find it. So I'm not sure if that, okay, it is for that, until 2 a.m. That's for 45 minutes. I would imagine they're probably not going to keep that there. Let me look over here. Okay, so they're basically saying what I was just saying. So the way they described it is pretty much the same thing. Just had to issue a tornado warning for North Upson. Looks like an updraft ingesting an outflow boundary. So that's interesting. Earlier I was talking about an updraft of a thunderstorm. You know, it's where it's bringing in the energy going up. Ingesting an outflow boundary. So all that wind shifting direction, and if it just kind of sucked it up into the storm, there was a brief change in direction of, I mean, there's a lot going on right there with the wind into the updraft, so that it sort of spin a little bit going up. Circulation just diminished on the latest scan, like I just showed you a moment ago. We'll leave the warning out until we're sure. So it did like a quick, that was kind of a weird thing there. I mean, it's like a outflow boundary getting pulled up into the updraft of a thunderstorm just enough for right there at that moment. Look, when we go back, not there. Zoop, there it is, gone. Just like that, it's gone. So that was wild. So I would assume that tornado warning is about to go away. And that was just a second in time that the computer happened to catch that. Okay, so outside of that, this is not a tornado event. I've been saying that throughout the night tonight. Don't recall the last time I saw that. So, other than that, there's a look at the hail, and it looks like, all right, so there's going back in time, going forward. Look how everything is sailing toward the south and west. It's actually raining here at the station now, so maybe that, let me see if that's moving. Yeah. Finally, along that outflow boundary, it finally did fill in for Macon. Okay, yeah, I can hear it coming down there now. I was like, why is the second half of Macon not filling in yet? Oh yeah, it's pouring out here now. I can hear it coming through my microphone. Okay, so we'll go back. Yep, that's probably going to be the shortest tornado warning you've ever seen in your life. That one was pretty weird. The outflow boundary possibly could have gotten pulled up into the updraft for a split second, enough that it showed a couplet and then gone in Upson County, if you saw that a moment ago. All right, let's take the, I'm sure they're going to expire that in a second because it's not there anymore. Macon Skycam, let's go. Is it frozen? Oh, you got to be kidding me. It is frozen. Mentioned earlier we've had some issues with this one. When it rains, it just doesn't like to work anymore. So we can't use that one. That's a shame. We're working on that though. We've put in a call to the folks. This is from 20 minutes ago, what you're seeing right here. Probably going to have to swap that one out. I think something's wrong with it. So here is a look at the radar shot once we get off of this non-functioning camera, and we can see still that tornado warning is up there, which was weird. Again, it was one quick blip of a couplet and it's gone, so disregard that. Everything else you see there in the yellow is severe thunderstorm warning material, and you can clearly see the movement now toward the southwest. Everything is starting to line up more and more and march its way on down toward southwest Georgia. Let me go over here and see if there's any new verbiage. All right, so they're just talking back and forth with some folks here about that, but it was basically saying what I've been saying, that it was, even the data is a bit wonky, so kind of weird. All right, so they went ahead and did that down there. So that means that they have dragged that line on down into Wilcox, Dodge, Telfair. So it's going to finish it all the way through our viewing area here. So this is going to come on down. That new severe thunderstorm warning until 2. All of this other stuff in the middle is really starting to weaken down to me. I mean, you can see this here too. I mean, just look at it, all these lightning strikes. It's washed itself over, this middle part. This up here, however, has not. Again, yes, it still shows a tornado warning. I'll show you again what this was about. That should not still be on the map. It just has not dropped off. Right there, a brief moment in time, a 1-scan tornado warning off of what possibly could have been an outflow boundary being ingested into the updraft of a thunderstorm, just enough that it showed a spin in the atmosphere just for a second. And then on the next scan, gone. So there's going back in time. So not there, there, gone. So that's the shortest one you probably ever see. Outside of that, this is all severe thunderstorm warning stuff, so disregard that red polygon as we look around at all the other velocity map stuff that's out there. Let's go. I'm going to take the lightning off again so you can see how everything has been lining up. Yep, and all the movement is toward the south and west. So it looks like it just did develop enough just in the Macon area for pretty much all of Bibb County, just for a second before it all gets a shove toward the southwest. Alex Pry, good to see you coming in. This is where the weather team finally gets to see each other or work on different sides of the clock. You stick around long enough, you see the next guy that walks in the door. Yeah. We've got it. There was a brief tornado warning for just a second. It was weird. It was weird, man. It was like one scan, and then it was gone.
Tornado or severe thunderstorm, and then.
Yeah, but it was a. I'm still talking to the peeps, but it was on the scan, nothing. Then one little blip thing there, and then let me see. There's two meteorologists talking right here, but I just showed you this at home if you're watching, but I'm going to show him again as well. So the explainer was that an outflow boundary must have been pulled into an updraft. So look at where the atwater is. Not there, there, gone. It was just one scan, just enough. So one of those weird things. We'll file that away in one of the strangest things we've seen.
Cats and dogs out there.
Cats and dogs out there. You heard it first. It is raining cats and dogs, and we have had the lightning show out there. Southeastern counties is where the storms have the most movement. I mean, that's where they're just have some giddy up going there. The ones once you start to get kind of making up northward, Forsyth to Thomaston, not a whole lot of movement yet, but I think that's going to change in a little bit too. But these have had movement all day. That's the part of that line coming down from South Carolina. All right, so again, this is still, I don't want to say a new thunderstorm. It's still probably the one that has the most punch for right now as far as the newest of the bunch. Monroe County starting to kind of quiet down. I'm seeing a lot more of these gray lightning strikes. Once they start turning gray again, that's old data, so those are old strikes. They'll kind of hang on the map for a little bit. As long as you see a bunch of white strikes, those are all fairly new ones. Once they start going gray, those may be 5-10 minutes old. So that generally shows you where the storm is moving away. Sometimes it shows you where the storm is fizzling out. And you can definitely see here in the middle where it has just turned itself over. In this area, I mean, it's just like, I'm done, man. 4 billion lightning strikes, all I can do. All right, so that newest severe thunderstorm warning was for the last bits here of Dodge, Pulaski, Telfair, Wilcox until 2. Lumber City there with the good little bit of lightning show there. Hello to the Lumber City peeps. My grandmother's from there, so if you know her, hello. Okay. How about up top? Yep. All right, so that's still till 1:45. 20 minutes left on that guy there where that rogue tornado warning. And I see why they had to issue it. I mean, it was there for one scan, but I mean, they're scratching their heads too going, what was that? Sure. Which one are we going to be seeing here? It's just, okay, we're going to look at the Flint Energies map, and so this is all current. Anybody want to do the math on all this? Was it 300, 600, 700 to 800 people? Oh, wow. Okay, total a little over 700. Lucky guess. Okay, so that's in these counties there that you see. That's some of the power outages. For whatever reason, we're not having luck with Georgia Power. Is that right? It's glitching for us, so we apologize. We're not able to, for whatever reason, maybe it's on their end, we're not sure. We're not able to give you a number on that one. Okay, back to the radar. Again, it was pouring down rain here at the station a moment ago, as it has been in so many places. Ooh, that's something we could look at. Let's see. I don't know if they're coming in yet. Sometimes it takes a minute for the, oh, there it goes. All right, so it's starting to populate in. This says 12 hour, I just chose that, but obviously it hasn't been raining for 12 hours. But this is just since, I mean, really what? We were in the 11 o'clock show, so this is 2.5 hours, maybe? These are some of the rainfall totals. 3.5 inches of rain. Some of these spots. That's a pretty good bit of rain in a short amount of time. Three, 3.7. Yeah, so anywhere you see some of the yellow to orange shaded areas, you're getting probably over 3 to 3.5 inches of rain there. And it's still going, so this is just what we've done so far. Whoops. Okay. What? Okay, what's this one? Perry off Kings Chapel Road. Go Dogs! What was that? At 11:49. Listen to this, guys. Crank it up, Connors. That is crazy. It's kind of like, that could be kind of like a cool little hype video for the Bulldogs there with flag and all that lightning and thunder. Maybe somebody will do that. Somebody call Kirby. All right, so as we look at the big picture, fewer lightning strikes overall. Earlier I did a thing where we stopped the map like we're doing now and we said, okay, how many lightning strikes in this whole area in the past 15 minutes? Let's do that again. Okay, well that's an improvement. Earlier it was over 6,000 lightning strikes in 15 minutes. Now we're under 3,000. My quick math says that's by half. I think that's right. All right, so Thomaston to Culloden right now with the majority, actually Thomaston with the majority of the lightning. Notice again all the gray lightning strikes. As you get back here into Monroe County, those are older strikes, and as time goes on, they just start to drop off. So that just shows you that the storm, at least is not strong in that area anymore, and is moving toward the southwest. Again, I know the motion is different tonight. Used to looking at this and thinking, oh, this is going to move east, but that's not the way these are going. They're moving southwest. You still see the back edge still trying to kind of form here. Bolingbroke, Bass Road finally got in on the act. But there's some parts, so I saw some rain, but yeah, I guess a little bit earlier through there. But it's definitely cats and dogs on Bass Road right now. Forsyth Road on out. So some heavy rain there. Not much in the way of lightning and thunder with that part. This is not the strongest part for sure. The two strongest spots now are obviously this and then this part down here. What is this beep? What am I hearing? Let's see what this is. This is, okay, so they cut some of that warning out. So let me take some of this away, clean this up a little bit. As we take away the lightning, we can take away the radar for a minute so you can see where the warnings are. Southern Dodge, Wilcox, Telfair on that part. The other is Upson only. So not many warnings left, so that's good. We're just waiting for this to get on out of town now. You can see it coming in from South Carolina early, but it came in hot. A lot of wind and rain, and that's still that part that's motoring through McRae, Abbeville in a little bit. It won't be long. This part right here will be on through our area. And then the part that is in Upson County, I know I'm moving this around a lot. Sorry about that. For those with motion sickness, let's see, Thomaston, yeah, most of this is not far from moving out of Upson County too. So I give this whole thing 20, 30 more minutes maybe, as far as we're concerned. And most of it should be out of here. Because the bit in the middle is just not what it was earlier. So that warning, was that 2 o'clock? Is that what that one was? Let's see, 2, yeah. All right, so that goes until 2. Yeah, kind of a recap. Again, today, a crazy day with the heat, yesterday and today. Heat index numbers way into the triple digits. And the highest one I saw today was in Dublin. 115 degrees was the feels like, not the actual temperature. But we did see in some of our northeastern counties 100, 101. I think it was like Milledgeville, Eatonton, Sparta, some places like that were about 100, 101. And then they cooled all the way down to 99. So I'm sure that felt better. Let's see. Monroe County, that's interesting right there, where that little part along that outflow boundary just sort of jutted some rain out. It's like it just had to feed right along that outflow boundary and grab some rain right there and make it as far east as it can before it starts getting pulled back to the west. So it's forming along that boundary and then it's getting caught in the flow of the whole line and being pulled back. So watch this. This is going forward. You can see it nudge up through Bolingbroke, form itself, and now it's getting yanked back with the line. Backward, forward. Okay, yeah, the vast majority of the lightning obviously is what's in Upson County right now. And as far as the bulk of it in our southeastern counties, parts of Wheeler, and Telfair, that's about it. Rolling through Lumber City, catching a little bit of Hazelhurst as it goes toward the south. Again, this is going southwest. So we'll see what happens when it gets down here eventually out of our area. But this is an area that got worked over earlier with some thunderstorms, so this is probably going to roll into that. And this might stay hot over here. But some of this, once it gets toward Albany, that had a pretty good bit of thunderstorm action earlier, so we'll see what it does. But by that time, it's out of our area. So that warning for 10 more minutes, which includes Upson.
This guy down? This guy down? This little squirrel computer?
I don't know. I was working earlier. I don't know. It could be on a reboot. A lot of these are scheduled during that time of night. Sorry, folks, we're doing inside baseball here. Okay, so 145 for that warning there, and then technically 2 for this one, but the leading edge of these storms is going to be gone before 2 o'clock. It's already punching down through Wilcox, Dodge, and Telfair and Wheeler. Let's go back and check on the hail again. Oh, they just issued a new warning to our south. All right, so it looks like we hardly have any hail in our area at all anymore. So You can see as I go back in time, when they were first blowing up, going forward again. Ooh, this would be something neat. I haven't done this one in a while. Let's do hail tracks. And then do a loop. Wait, it's loading data, and I know it looks weird. Hold on, give it a second. Okay, so this is how it looked. These are the hail tracks as they were coming down. It didn't look as cool as I thought. They're not shutting off. But anyway, the idea is there when they were firing up and moving toward the south and west. All right, so we'll go back to the radar shot then. There's a new severe thunderstorm warning they issued. That's outside of our area though, so they are going to go and pick that line up. That gets into the Tallahassee office, I do believe. So that's where it leaves Peachtree City's domain, and they're going to go ahead and grab it too from there. Okay, so I'm going to look at the velocity. It's hard to see down there. We're in between radar shots, so I'm going to look at the velocity down there and see if we can get an idea. You can see a little bit. That would be kind of the leading edge. That's what we're waiting for that to get on through. So we go back in time, and you can see it starting to poke down. So coming out of Eastman, heading into Abbeville, that's the wind. And there is some hail in Telfair down there, but it is maybe a ½ inch, pea-size basically. Really surprised we haven't seen hail pictures tonight. There's some hail cores out there that were getting it, but it might have been really because there's so much lightning, nobody wanted to step out there and take them. Don't blame me for that. Okay, what is that warning? Oh, you're kidding me. Pulaski, Dooley, Crisp, Wilcox until 2:30. About ready to play tag, you're it? Yep. Okay. Just let me know when you're ready.
I guess I'll just take your mic probably.
Okay. Connors, if you're listening in there, I'm going to mute this mic and hand it on over to Alex. I enjoyed it, folks, but this is, it's now getting into Alex Pry's domain as we wait for these last few severe thunderstorm warnings to come through. Stand by for the man. Here he comes.
All right, everybody. Meteorologist Alex Pry tapping in. Shout out to Ben and the evening nightside crew who's still working hard behind the scenes. So hopefully we can get these warnings out of here within the next hour or so and they can go and get some much needed rest. So we've been monitoring this line of showers and storms that has gained a little bit of organization as it's pushed here into central Georgia. So obviously, you know, the first part of the forecast yesterday, it was blistering hot. Feels like numbers into the upper 100s. I'm sure a couple numbers topped out over 110 occasionally. So the atmosphere is what we called supercharged. It was very hot. It was very humid. So this line had plenty to work with as it made its way through central Georgia. And we typically see these lines come through in the overnight hours and they drastically weaken. Well, it still had a lot left over to work with. So that's why we're still seeing it maintain its intensity all the way through central Georgia, even here still at 1:40 in the morning. So currently we'll take away the lightning, we'll take away the radar and focus on the warnings. So it does look like we have, I believe this might be 3 warnings down here. This is going to encompass Dooley, Crisp, Pulaski, Wilcox, Dodge, Hellfair, and that is it down there. In our far southern counties, all of these warnings are going to go until 2 a.m., maybe even into 2:30, which is what this newest warning did get issued for. That one's going to expire at 2:30. And then we have one up here to the west here in central Georgia, still holding on to some thunderstorms over in Upson County, Lamar County, in this very southwest corner of Monroe County, really close to the Culloden area. And then after that, it transports over into Pike County and then areas west of us. I believe it's Meriwether County, and then getting over into Troup County where LaGrange is. So let's bring back the sweeping radar. The first thing that you notice is plenty of heavy rainfall. I'm sure many of you are already hearing that rainfall hit your windows, waking up to flashes of lightning because we add that back in. And it's not as prominent as it was just about an hour ago. Ben was telling you about those lightning strikes, somewhere around 6,000 in a box of just central Georgia, and we've seen that number virtually trimmed in half. So that's a good sign of hopefully de-intensification, but we're still seeing a lot of these storms maintain at least the parameters for severe criteria. Now, winds have been the main driver of these warnings so far, I do believe, throughout the nighttime hours. I obviously had to get my fair share of sleep before coming in here, so wasn't as tuned in when the line was first moving in. But we're still seeing some patches of some very bright red down here in some of these boxes. See if I can click this, maybe just a pixel that's going to be very, very bright red. So we're looking right there on the county line of Pulaski and Wilcox County right now. And let's see if that will pop up. We'll go to radial radar, not the warning. Give it just 1 second. Okay, let's take away the warnings, see if it has anything to say. There we go. Okay, so about 50-mile-per-hour winds, which is kind of the bottom end of that range that we were talking about earlier yesterday. 50 to 70-mile-per-hour winds was the range that was outlined. And this is still going in an area that's in a level 2. Obviously, some areas got upgraded to a level 3 yesterday afternoon, so not as confident as areas up to the north and the northeast that this weather is going to hold through in our southern counties, but we definitely do see it maintaining its fair share of severe thunderstorm warnings, and that's honestly something we have not seen come to fruition over the last couple of weeks. We've had these severe weather threats, and there have been plenty of strong thunderstorms, not necessarily severe in nature. So looking at the very gustiest, maybe about 50-mile-per-hour winds right there on the county line of Wilcox and Pulaski counties. Let's get the pointer out right here. Where are you, pointer? Yeah, there we go. So right here, I was looking in this pocket of some very dark red right there on the county line of Wilcox and Pulaski. As you see, plenty of lightning still exists farther down to the south and the southeast of that severe thunderstorm warning that just got issued. So we're still seeing these storms maintain at least severe intensity, maybe going down into a little bit of more so strong intensity. So those special weather statements, that criteria where the winds aren't quite gusty enough and the hail isn't quite large enough for a severe thunderstorm warning. Let's pop back over to the hail cores, and it looks like the biggest hail core that we do see is right there where we're talking about some of the gustiest winds. Right there smack dab in the middle, maybe about a ½ inch in diameter. We did see some cores that did get over 1 inch so far in areas like Crawford County and Wilkinson County, I believe. So it's a good sign to see that the hail is going down in size and nature, hopefully going to continue to weaken. But not much more to go here in central Georgia. It does look like once we get these warnings to expire sometime around 2:15, 2:30, we might see 1 or 2 more warnings issued. But you will see this gap in between the 2 warnings that we have. Actually, I believe that one in Upson County was allowed to expire, so that's looking good right now. Ben Jones is heading out the door. You earned some much needed rest, sir. And I will be on my 3rd cup of coffee by the time you wake up, probably. So up here in Upson County, it does look like that warning has been allowed to expire. So it does still implicate that we have plenty of lightning in the area. We have some heavy rainfall around the Thomaston area, but the heaviest of the impacts have moved over to the west, where you do see this warning which I believe just got maybe trimmed down a touch over towards Manchester, Pine Mountain, and then eventually LaGrange even farther over to the west. Actually, it looks like they just put a little bit of an extension of that box down towards the south. It looks like we have some video. Say that again, where's the video from? From Rents, so that's going to be down there in Dodge County. Let's play some video right here on your screen. That's a very accurate image of what most of you are seeing outside. Many of you probably are having some trouble sleeping right now, and I definitely don't blame you. I wasn't sleeping very much either. It's very loud outside, and lightning is striking just about every second, maybe even a little bit more frequent than that. So it is a big light show outside, very heavy pockets of rain that are limiting your speed on the roads. I was going about 30 miles per hour on I-75 North on my way up here. So the good news is this is coming in the overnight hours. Many of you are not making your work commute right now in the wee hours of the night, so that is good news. You're in the safety of your home, and that's what we always say with these overnight storm risks, that you are within the safety of your home already. But obviously it makes for a bit of a restful night. And the main thing we've continued to see is just some pockets of some gusty winds, but otherwise it's just really loud, and it's very bright outside with all the lightning. So hasn't been the best night sleeping, I understand, but it's better safe than sorry. Just trying to keep you updated as we continue to monitor these storms as they move through central Georgia here. But like I said, we don't have much more to go with this, maybe about 45 minutes or so, and then I believe all these warnings will be allowed to expire, and then we can finally just deal with some residual rainfall, maybe a couple of low-end thunderstorms. But I was getting to it and then I lost my train of thought. When you have a busy radar like this, you just go from one thing over to the other. You are noticing this patch kind of here in the middle. Let me center it on your screen above the banner, get the pointer out. This is the area I'm talking about right here. Macon County, Houston County, Peach County, Crawford, Taylor County. You can see these areas have plenty of green shades in them, more so some yellow, not many pockets of those orange and reds and dark red colors that are more so going to indicate your stronger and your severe thunderstorms. And that's because if we take the radar back just a little bit, let's drag it back here, if it'll agree with me. Pause it, drag back, maybe. Okay, it doesn't look like it wants to go along with what I'm trying to show you. But any areas that already receive any rain, per se, are already going to have an atmosphere that is worked over. So obviously we have a lot of fuel present that I told you about with that blistering heat that we had present yesterday. Well, now we are seeing some spots of where it's not necessarily as strong in nature. As we flash it back to 12:25, so a little over an hour ago, you're already seeing plenty of heavy rainfall. I meant to grab the pointer, but you get the point right here in the same little area. This area already got worked over just a little bit with that heavy rainfall, some thunderstorms firing up, and then we'll clear this right there. Number of strikes about 1,000, and that's just in a small box here in central Georgia, not even encompassing some of the pockets of more intense rainfall. But then as we progressed in time, you can see as that secondary line, really the line of the most organization, kind of formed right here behind those areas. This area was already worked over right here. So that's why we're kind of seeing a gap as we move it back to real time on the radar. So not as intense in nature, maybe a scattered lightning strike or two, but the intensity is going down. It does look like those areas may go without seeing a severe thunderstorm warning for the rest of the overnight hours. So let's go back to our current warnings that we do have. Once again, I'm going to have to take away the lightning and the radar right here. And it does look like we have this number one, the one that was issued most recently, and that's going to be right here. This box on the far left for Dooley County, Pulaski County, Wilcox, and Crisp County. This warning over here is going to go until 2:30, but the box that the live radar is capturing right now is going to be this big warning for Wilcox, Pulaski, Dodge, and then down into Telfair. And there's a little bit of an overlap here with a warning, I believe. Actually, let's drag it over there. That warning over here on the, yeah, this one's just for Telfair County. So this one should expire here in the next 9 minutes or so, right at the 2 a.m. hour. So we'll continue to go until 2:30 and maybe even a little bit longer just to make sure that you're covered, because some areas right over here on the very south and southeastern tip of central Georgia haven't quite gotten the heaviest impacts yet. So you may be waking up to everything being a bit loud outside, and that's mainly been what the majority of this has been. Just really loud, plenty of thunder associated with all these lightning strikes, some heavy rain beating on your window, and a couple of occasional hail cores. So we're looking at the hail cores again. Once again, you see lots of these kind of brownish, maybe dark red colors, but we're not seeing anything that gets into the yellow and the green colors like we did just a little bit ago. So these hail cores, probably somewhere just below a ½ inch in diameter, 4/10, 2/10, and then 3/10. So right there, kind of all going linearly right there. But if we continue to see those hail cores weaken in terms of getting lesser in size, and that's going to be a good indication of hopefully some weakening. I'll have to actually go back to that radar view a little bit ago to see what was taking place in Chris County and Dooley County, all these areas immediately down to the south and the southeast of these hail cores right over here, right on the edge of our viewing area. If you guys have already had your fair share of thunderstorms, then of course that's going to indicate that the atmosphere is pretty worked over in those areas. So if I flash it back, it does look like we do have a little bit of a gap down there. So I wouldn't doubt that this severe thunderstorm warning, the one that was latest issued, is probably going to continue its way all the way through Chris County, encompass areas like Lake Blackshear, and then of course you cross the county line down into Worth County, you get into Warwick. So the rest of Chris County still probably going to hear things get pretty loud outside over the next 30 or so minutes, but it does look like once this heaviest band of rain continues to exit, which maybe even not too much longer. This warning, this big warning right here only goes until 2 a.m. But where you're starting to see, it's easier if I just pause it so I don't have to time it just perfectly to point something out. Where we're kind of seeing this band, this leading edge right here. There's pockets of some dark red, there's lightning strikes that are a little more organized than everything else that you see back up here to the north and the northeast. Once this initial line does move through, it looks like you're good to go, but I wouldn't doubt that areas like Dooley County, Chris County, and then kind of western portions of Wilcox County, excuse me, where we're seeing a little bit of a gap in that reflectivity. Those areas are going to be the last ones in a severe thunderstorm warning. We'll take it back up here to the west. Not seeing anything over here really in Thomaston anymore. There's obviously plenty of lightning, but a lot of those are gray in color. And like Ben was just saying a couple of minutes ago, once the lightning strikes get grayer in color, that means they happened a longer duration ago. So the bright white lightning strikes are going to be the lightning strikes that have happened fairly recently, within the last minute, maybe 5 minutes. But once you get into the gray territory, those lightning strikes happened about 10 to 15 minutes ago. So it does look like we're not seeing much in the way of lightning up in Upson County anymore, but there's still plenty of heavy rain around the Thomaston area. Pockets of some heavy rain stretching back all across Culloden, getting into southern Monroe County. But for Forsyth, conditions have cleared up. You have plenty of wet roads up there, I'm sure, but Juliet, not dealing with anything anymore. Bolingbroke, conditions are starting to clear up. And along with that, I know a lot of you may have been tuned in from North Macon. It does look like it is clearing up all along the North Macon corridor, Zebulon Road, Bass Road, getting up into Arkwright Drive. Downtown Macon, we still have a couple of sprinkles, a heavy pocket of rain right on the county line of Crawford and Bibb County around Lizella, moving out of the Lake Tobisoffke area. We'll take it back down just a little bit more, where you can see that the rain does get a whole lot lighter in nature going into Taylor County, southern Crawford, most of Macon County, still some pockets of some yellows, maybe some oranges hanging out in Houston County, Peach County, eastern Macon County. We go down a little bit farther, and then this is really where the heaviest impacts are still remaining. So these pockets of dark red still have a couple of very spotty hail cores, maybe some pea-sized hail within those. Still some lightning strikes popping up here and there. So Dooley County, Chris County, Wilcox, starting to feel the impacts right now, specifically Wilcox and eastern Dooley. And then the heaviest impacts should continue down towards the south and the southwest, down into northern Chris County, Cordele, and should clip some areas over here by Lake Blackshear. It still looks like if we immediately go up to the northeast of Lake Blackshear, then this kind of pocket right up here, just to the south of Unadilla, right on the edge of this polygon, is going to be moving over you in about the next 30 minutes or so. Then we go into Wilcox County, where plenty of heavy pockets of rain, scattered flashes of lightning, a couple of hail cores still do exist. The rain a lot lighter in nature in Dodge County now in Eastman. So we were talking about Rents where we just showed you that video earlier. Actually, I believe Rents is in southern Lawrence County possibly. It's somewhere down here. I know it's a very localized area. Sometimes we see it on the radar when we really zoom in on the local impacts. But southern Telfair County is where the heaviest rain does remain. The rain is getting a good bit lighter up in McRae, up in Milan, and then up in Wheeler County, Montgomery County, Mount Vernon, and Alamo seeing a lot lighter of rain. So let me kind of try to draw a big picture view, I guess. That would probably be the best to tell you which areas are all clear, and this is going to encompass most of central Georgia. Let's draw a curved line. I would say right here just to be safe. All these areas down to the south and the southwest of this line, so kind of where that arrow is pointing. I know it's a bad arrow. It's a little bit hard to draw on this. And let me see if I can move this up and it's not going to take that away. Nope. But we'll take it back here. You guys right here in our southernmost counties, the southernmost point of those southern counties, still going to deal with the heaviest impacts, probably a severe thunderstorm warning. Everyone else looks like they're in the all clear from severe weather. The atmosphere is very worked over in all of these areas that we've seen so far. And maybe some areas didn't really get much in the way of rain. I was seeing Ben pop up the 24-hour rainfall totals, and some of our northern counties didn't luck out with much. But I'm sure that is no complaint for people up in areas like Eatonton, maybe getting into Milledgeville. I'll have to look back on that in just a little bit. But let's actually take it over to the Skycam. I believe we have the downtown Macon pulled up. So that's facing southward, I do believe, but let's go a little bit closer down to where all the action is. We'll take it down to the Georgia National Fairgrounds, where we will look down towards the south, maybe a little bit towards the southeast. All right, got that camera panned out. Let's see if this is a bit of a better view. Can't see much. It's very dark out there, but we'll probably see an occasional flash of lightning off in the distance, illuminating the sky. Lots and lots of rain. You can still see the reflections of some of these spotlights and some of these street lights down over at the fairgrounds and the occasional drop of water dripping down from the Skycam. Some areas definitely got their fair share of rain. I was supposed to have a tea time this afternoon in Warner Robins. Don't quite think that's going to happen. I imagine the golf course is going to be pretty soggy today. And there you go. There's one of those flashes of lightning. I knew if we waited long enough, we would see some of that. But we're going to have our fair share of rain on the ground as many of you are waking up in probably about 5 or so hours, getting up around the 7 a.m. hour. And a lot of this lingering standing water at the surface combined with the humidity, if the dew point temperatures and the actual temperatures are very close, this could contribute to a good amount of some low-level cloud cover in the morning. So a lot of fog could be in the picture. We'll have to keep you posted on that once we get around to the morning show come around 5 a.m. That's something I've been using very frequently as we've had rain chances in spotty areas for about the last couple of weeks. Summertime, so that's not abnormal. However, it is something that does pertain to your morning commute, so we'll keep you updated with that. That's probably something that we are going to expect as we go into the next couple of hours. Some of that fog formation, even saw some areas of some spotty fog formation on my way up here. So it still looks like the heaviest impacts are going to be down here where these severe thunderstorm warnings remain. Right now we still see Pulaski County, although it does look like the heaviest impacts have moved out of Pulaski County. So yes, you're technically still in a severe thunderstorm warning. You're definitely still going to hear the occasional rumble of thunder, see that flash of lightning through your blinds. But it looks like the severe threat is over up in Pulaski County. It has moved on down now to southeast Dooley County, getting into northeast Chris County, most of Wilcox County, but really the eastern half of Wilcox, the Abbeville area, looking like you're all good as well. Seeing a lot of thinning out in that precipitation, transitioning from a red, those dark reds, into a steady yellow, and then eventually back into a green. And what do you know, one last warning just to cover the bases here in central Georgia. You saw that box pop up right there. This is, I believe this is correct, yes. Kind of a weird shape. Don't know what's up with that triangle going over to the west of Lake Blackshear right there. Might as well have just taken it all the way down into Lee County. But nonetheless, that's also, never mind. Silly on me right there because that's where it transitions into the Tallahassee forecast office. So that dividing line is going to be Sumter County. So that's why they didn't extend the warning down there into Lee County. But anyone watching in the Lake Blackshear area now in a severe thunderstorm warning, still probably about 20 minutes or so until the heaviest impacts move through that area. This warning going to go until 2:45. So we have another 45 minutes of severe thunderstorm warnings. Then I think I can officially issue the all clear here in central Georgia. We'll still have some lingering rain. We'll still have some lingering low end thunderstorms, but the severe threat will be over. So let's take it back over to the hail parameter. That's something okay, there we go. We've seen a spike in the hail core right outside of Rochelle. That's going to be to the southwest of Rochelle, just south of Pitts. Hopefully this is a fairly remote area in between some of the small towns in Wilcox County. Double Run, it does look like that hail core is going to move in the near vicinity of that fairly soon. Let's take a look at how large this is. 1.1 inches in diameter. So what this is telling me right now is this is a hail-driven severe thunderstorm warning as opposed to a wind-driven severe thunderstorm warning. The gusty winds, we'll take a flash look at that here in just a second. But when you have hail that is 1 inch in diameter or greater, that's enough to trigger a severe thunderstorm warning. 1 inch in diameter hail is getting to be about quarter size, maybe even a little bit bigger. Once you get a little bit above quarter size, I think the next comparison is probably about ping pong ball size. Definitely not something you want to be outside for, and fairly widespread in Wilkinson County right here. This is south of Highway 280, southeast of Pitt, southwest of downtown Rochelle. And it does look like that hail core just keeps expanding. So even though you're not in the smack dab middle of this necessarily, let's take a look at some of the other shades. 0.9 inches, we go over to the orange color, 0.8 inches, 0.8 inches just outside of that. And then once you get on the outer edges of it, that's where you get down to more pea-sized hail. But a pretty large hail core that just spiked up kind of out of nowhere associated with this. We were looking at a weakening in some of those hail cores. But like I said, this is kind of an untapped environment down here in our far south and our far southwestern edge here in central Georgia. We still see our fair share of gusty winds. Don't get me wrong about that. Let's take away the warnings and then let's flash it to some of these pixels of the brightest red. 51 miles per hour, 53 miles per hour. See, that one might be a little bit brighter. 51 miles per hour. So you're really flirting with the line. 58 mile per hour winds are going to be what drives the severe thunderstorm warning. So just below that, nonetheless, 50 mile per hour winds are definitely strong enough to do some damage, not to discount that threat whatsoever. But as we have transitioned into the 2 a.m. hour, we have seen these two warnings that encompass the rest of Wilcox County, the rest of Dodge County, the rest of Telfair. Those warnings have been allowed to expire. Heaviest impacts have moved on down towards the south, areas like Fitzgerald, getting over into Ben Hill County, and then eventually down into Tift County, closer to Tifton. So that's where this warning does extend to the south of us. But the one that has our most attention is going to be this little cluster right here. And this makes sense because this line right now still has a good amount of northwest to kind of southeast orientation. So we've seen it organize into kind of the shape of at least a line of continuous thunderstorms over the last couple of hours. And obviously areas up to the northwest of the bottom of this line, which can be found way down here, closer to Waycross, just to the east of Douglas. If you keep going northwest, that does clip our southwestern counties here in central Georgia. So some of those areas are still going to be impacted. Let's take it back to that hail core real quick because that was definitely a big spike up that we did see. Good indication that yellow area did get a little bit smaller, so it's a little bit of a small wind, but we'll take it. Right now that could indicate a little bit of weakening with this, but once it really traverses down towards the south and the southwest just a little bit more, probably over the Double Run area. So if you live in Double Run, you hear things getting really loud outside. This hail core is looking to move over your near vicinity here fairly shortly. Just continue to remain inside. I'm sure not many of you are out at the 2 a.m. hour going out to maybe water the backyard garden. Mother Nature's doing it for you right now. So just continue to remain indoors. Try to stay away from those windows as well. Those hail pellets beating against the glass windows. Obviously, if you keep continuing to hit a glass windows or a weaker structure, hail can definitely fracture some of that glass. Not to say that it will, but it's better safe than sorry just to stay away from some windows. The Hatley area, wouldn't doubt that some of this hail core will move over that area right on the Chris County and the Wilcox County line. And now we just got another update with the hail size. That yellow color went away completely. So we're still seeing hail that is close to 1 inch in diameter. I mean, there's not much difference between 1.1 inches in diameter and 9/10 of an inch in diameter, but a steady weakening trend. Hopefully we'll just continue to see that reciprocated as this cluster of heavy rain and some hail does move over the southwestern corner of Wilcox County. So Highway 159, lots of heavy rainfall. That hail core is right there, mainly to the east of the highway. However, not too much of an intensification of lightning. You're definitely seeing a good coupling of it right there, but it's not whiting out the entire screen to where you can't even see the rainfall rate. So nothing like what we saw as of earlier, but this warning right now, there's a little bit of overlap in these warnings. So obviously that one that just got issued is the one that it's tapping into Chris, Sumter, and Wilcox. But it also, oh no, yeah, this is the warning. Sorry, when you get all this yellow on the screen, it gets really hard to pick out where each one of these warnings are. But we do have one for Chris, Dooley, Pulaski, and Wilcox. Like I mentioned, I think the severe weather threat is over in Pulaski County. The heaviest rain has moved out of there. It's the southwest corner of Dooley County, just to the east of Vienna, where you're seeing those pockets and flashes of some dark red color, and then especially down here where you see the dark red and even some shades of pink in southwest Wilcox County near the Double Run area. We'll continue to zoom in just a little bit, near the Hatley area as well. All around Pitts down in western, southwestern Wilcox County. The heaviest rainfall has moved out of Rochelle, it looks like, but still fair share of some low-wind thunderstorms there. And then eventually we will see some of these darker shades of red move into Chris County. We're already starting to see areas in East Chris County right here and Northeast Chris County. The rainfall is getting a little bit heavier in nature, approaching downtown Cordele here fairly shortly, so going across the I-75 corridor. And then eventually what's west of that, Lake Blackshear will be, and that will be closer to probably about 2:30, 2:45 once we see the impacts get over there to Lake Blackshear on western Chris County. So let's take a look at everything as a whole once again, make sure that we're covering all the bases, crossing our T's, dotting our I's, making sure there's no other warnings farther up to the north. Well, it's funny, I was just talking about areas up to the north, and it looks like they got a little bit of an isolated shower there around Shadydale on the county line of Jasper and Putnam counties. Still our fair share of scattered lightning strikes. It looks like they've happened a good bit ago, maybe about 10 to 15 minutes ago, because they are pretty gray in nature around Sandersville, getting over into Johnson County. Lawrence County still mostly covered in rain, but it's a lot lighter in nature than this leading edge that did come through about an hour ago in some time. Not much rain to be found around our radar up in Twiggs County. So most of Twiggs County, the heaviest impacts, the rain predominantly has left your area. Bibb County almost completely rain-free. Monroe County the same way. Wilkinson County also. And it looks like Baldwin County, Jones County, Jasper, Putnam, and Hancock are all mostly clear as well, with the exception of that isolated shower on the county line of Jasper and Putnam. It looks like we're really all clear in our northernmost counties. And still maybe even a sporadic flash of lightning just where there is some cloud cover. Again, you don't need rain for a lightning strike to occur. So when thunder roars, that's why we always tell you to go indoors, but I haven't had to say that too much. I normally say that more so in the afternoon times when many of you are still having your outdoor plans during the summertime months. Most of you have already hit the hay, and hopefully now that conditions have really cleared up in our northernmost counties, a lot of you are able to go back to sleep and get some much needed shut-eye. I'm going to flash it back to the Skycam because I see it over here on one of our screens, and the lightning strikes, they're definitely a lot less frequent, but it's still lighting up the Skycam here at the Georgia National Fairgrounds. Now that I do this, it'll probably take another 2 minutes for us to get a lightning strike, but let's just see what happens here for just a moment. There we go. Right on cue. Perfect. Thank you, Mother Nature. I appreciate that. So now we go down to our southern counties once again where these remaining warnings do exist. Again, they're going to go until 2:30, which was the latest issued warning right when Ben and I did a handoff there just a little bit ago. And then we got a new warning, which is kind of outlining all of the outside areas of that initial warning. So this kind of pentagon shape right here, that was the initial warning until 2:30. That one for Pulaski, Dooley, Wilcox, and Chris counties. Once again, Pulaski County, the severe weather threat I do believe is over. The heaviest impacts moving down towards the southwest of Hawkinsville and Pulaski County. We still see heavy impacts in the western side, the southwestern corner of Wilcox County. And then some areas of south and southeastern Dooley County, that's where some heavy rain cores are, maybe a little bit of a pea-sized hail signature. But those heaviest impacts really moving over into Crisp County now. So Cordele, Araby, Lake Blackshear. You guys are going to hear things get a little bit loud here in the next couple of minutes. And let's go back to the hail parameter. And once again, that latest warning you saw on your screen, that is going to go until 2:45. So this hail core is still very widespread, this brown area right here, but it is a lot less large in size. Only about a 1/2 inch in diameter now, 4/10 of an inch to be specific. It was about 1.1 inches in diameter just a little bit ago, but we did see this hail core pop up somewhere in southern Pulaski County, I believe it was initially. That was kind of where Ben and I were doing the handoff. Then we saw it weaken in nature, and then we saw it pop back up to having an inch in diameter hail, which is severe parameters for having some hail. So it has weakened again, but if this is to go immediately over to the west here, crossing the county line into Crisp County, we could see a little more intensification with this. We could see those hail sizes get greater in nature because, like I've been continuing to mention throughout this, Crisp County is kind of an untapped environment right now. Probably the only one that we really have left, with the exception of maybe western Dooley County, maybe Byronville and areas to the west of Vienna. Let's go some local areas, Drayton and Lilly down in the southwest corner of Dooley County, and then getting into most of Crisp County, Cordele, Lake Blackshear, Winona, Marshall, Warwick right there across the county line into Worth County, Pateville, Araby, areas on I-75, Highway 41, but the heaviest impacts right now are still across the county line into Wilcox County and eastern Crisp County. So Hatley, it's definitely quite messy down there right now. Some of the pockets of the darker red are around Double Run, where you see some clusters of lightning hanging on together. Let's go back over to the winds because that's another driver of this severe weather and these severe thunderstorm warnings. Take away the warnings very fast. Pick out a couple of bright red pixels. 54 miles per hour. Got right on the line right there. 51 miles per hour right here around Double Run. Let's take a look at some of the winds. 41, 34 miles per hour. So still very gusty winds, don't get me wrong, but not necessarily too severe criteria. But these strong thunderstorms, these special weather statements still can pack quite a punch, down some trees, down some power lines, and especially with these heavy rainfall rates that we're getting. That's really going to saturate the soil. That's really going to loosen it up. It's going to make things like trees more prone to being blown over. And what do trees do? They knock down power lines, along with any loose items that you have outside. Hopefully a lot of you did secure many of the loose items before you went to bed, because those can act as flying projectiles, especially things that can be blown very easy, a lot lighter in weight. So that's what we're really looking at in terms of the wind threat. But it doesn't look as bad as it was up to the north and the northeast, where the level 3 did get issued. That was definitely where more of the 70 mile per hour winds were outlined. We even saw some flashes, maybe some 60 to 70 mile per hour winds a little bit earlier back up into Washington County. I tuned into the coverage when I first woke up this morning. So the rain is a lot thinner in nature, still some heavy pockets of rain. So if you are getting out on the roads in the middle of the night, there are still our fair share of people that are getting out on the roads. I know, number one, I-75 right by the Watson Boulevard exit. So if you're going I-75 north, it's a little bit past the exit. And if you're going on I-75 south, it's a little bit before that Watson Boulevard exit. Specifically on I-75 south, there is a car that's hydroplaned on the road. Hopefully the cops did get that cleared up, but there were about 2 or 3 cops there on my morning commute. I was trying to look over, but really just had to focus on the road because you couldn't see much out ahead of you. So running into those heavy pockets of rain, if you are going to be on the roads here in the overnight hours, be sure to take it a little bit slower. I was going about 30 to 40 miles per hour during some pockets of heavy rain this morning. It's going to be very wise to do that because it's really hard to see even the headlights of the car in front of you. And I'm sure that's the case down here in Wilcox, Dooley, and Crisp counties, where we still see plenty of flashes of lightning. That obviously doesn't make for the best visibility. It can light up the sky for a brief moment, but then that contrast goes back to dark and kind of ruins your vision for a split second. Not seeing entirely intense pockets of this clustering of lightning like we did see earlier, which is always a good sign. We'll continue to monitor this hail core, and it does look like it's traversing right over this kind of 3 corners edge. I believe this is Ben Hill County. down here. Actually, no, this is Turner County, immediately south of Chris County. So Turner County, Chris County, and Wilcox counties, right here on the corner of these three counties is where that hail core is still existing. About a ½ inch in diameter still. A couple of pockets that we do see, maybe 0.2 of an inch in diameter. Some of those pockets of hail in eastern Chris County, that's going to be more so pea-sized hail. And in terms of the wind, still gusting about 40 to 50 miles per hour occasionally within the severe thunderstorm warning. But if we continue to see these hail cores not really live up to those values necessarily close to 1 inch in diameter, and we continue to see these winds not be as gusty, then this would be more so a strong thunderstorm, still something that you want to stay inside for, but haven't been telling you to really go indoors that much or stay inside because many of you are already watching this coverage from inside during the overnight hours. And then we will continue to see the heavy rain move across I-75. Already seeing some pockets of heavy rain get really close to the downtown Cordele area. Immediately after that is going to be Lake Blackshear. But the heaviest impacts continue to really just be limited down to this corner of central Georgia. Let's draw another line for you. I'm going to say probably right here just to be safe. Now obviously some areas over here kind of on the back edge closer to this line, you guys are probably in the all clear even if you are still in a severe thunderstorm warning, but really wanted to encompass these areas right here because this is what I still think is that last little bit of the untapped environment. Plenty of a supercharged atmosphere is still kind of present, but now that we are seeing temperatures get a little bit cooler, we've had a good amount of a couple of hours really past sunset to watch these temperatures cool down. We still have plenty of humidity to work with as well. Let's go over to, see, I'm in Ben's workspace right now, so I'm kind of completely lost right now. Let's go over to our temperatures, which is going to be, okay, so we're talking about some low 70s, even some upper 60s. That's already nice to see. We normally don't see those for another couple of hours into the morning hours. But take a look at, I don't have my pointer right here. But you can see in our southernmost counties, there is kind of a dividing line of where that rain-cooled air is. Actually, a little bit of a shade of green when you go into Lawrence County, Wilkinson County, but you can see as you go through really directly where that Eastman temperature stamp is, you can kind of see that dividing line, that little bright flash of yellow that's going to indicate areas that have rain-cooled air up to the north and the northeast, and areas that don't necessarily have it just yet, but the temperatures are a lot cooler. Wow, it was quite a light show on the Skycam just a second ago. And then the humidity levels, I imagine just about everywhere is remaining pretty humid. Patchy areas of dark green, a lot more light green, which is definitely a pleasant sight to see after the last couple of days with dew point temperatures near 80 degrees in some spots. But still plenty of humidity to work with down in that little corner, that southwest corner of central Georgia. But it's not necessarily running rampant like what we were talking about during the afternoons and some of the last few mornings. So let's go back over to our live radar, continue to monitor these last two severe thunderstorm warnings that we have. Maybe we'll get one of them canceled just a little bit earlier, but it doesn't quite look like it just yet. Still just looks like this heaviest band of rain is moving through Vienna now, right along the I-75 corridor in southern Dooley County. And then you get into Chris County around downtown Cordele, some pockets of heavy rain moving in those areas. Just to the east of Araby is probably where the most intense impacts do still lie because we still see this hail core right here on that three corners edge of Chris County, Wilcox County, and Turner County, excuse me. And then this hail core does continue to traverse all the way from, oh, that's the wrong one right there. Let's erase that. All the way from I-75 into southeast Chris County, right over here into northern Turner County, and then in between areas like Ashburn and Rebecca. So that's kind of giving you a really good idea of the orientation of this line as it continues to push down towards the south and the southwest. Now many other areas immediately in our southern counties, getting over into our southeastern counties, where we did see a severe thunderstorm warning that has been allowed to expire. But like I said, we're really just dealing with some pockets of heavy rain that still may be beating on your window, maybe waking you up, the occasional rumble of thunder associated with a scattered lightning strike. But that's really the name of the game after you get that heaviest, that leading edge out of the picture. So the lightning strike's very, very scattered across the rest of central Georgia. We're going to look at that residual rain to continue for most of the next probably hour or two, I would say, just to be safe. Maybe even seeing some showers linger into the early morning hours for the morning show. But the severe weather threat will end once these last 2 warnings are allowed to expire. Maybe even a little bit before that, but we'll wait until the warnings officially expire, which it's 2:21 right now. Radar not necessarily up to date with that timestamp just yet. So we have another about 24 minutes until all of these warnings should be allowed to expire. Right now, really the main focus is going to be Cordele, Araby, and Lake Blackshear. And to go a little more local, Highway 280, of course, going west from Cordele over to Lake Blackshear. Georgia Highway 300 encompasses other areas like Winona. That's definitely where a heavy pocket of rain is about to move through. Across Highway 41, Georgia Highway 33. So things are going to get really loud outside in just a moment here in Winona. Actually, are probably pretty loud, but it's going to get even louder associated with some of the rainfall. Rains, Marshall, and Pateville, some of those localized areas that I can find, some of the smaller communities just outside of Lake Blackshear. And then, of course, you get into Warwick once you cross the county line into Worth County. And then after that, I believe to the southwest of Lake Blackshear is going to be Lee County and Leesburg, Georgia. But once it crosses that county line, goes over Lake Blackshear, Central Georgia is going to be in the all clear, and we will hand that off to the Albany market, the Tallahassee forecast office, and the National Weather Service, hopefully in Peachtree City, can take a much needed break. It does still look like they have some severe thunderstorm warnings up here near LaGrange, in between LaGrange and Carrollton, right there on the state line of Georgia and Alabama. And I believe they do forecast for a county or two over across the state line into Alabama. So they may still have a little bit of work cut out for them, but hopefully our impacts down here are going to subside once these severe thunderstorm warnings are over. So it's really these 2 pockets right here. This heavy pocket, I keep doing that. They look very similar down here on the icon scale. Right here, just to the southeast of Cordele, this heavy pocket of dark red, and you can see it a lot better when I take away the lightning, even more so some pink shades within that, and then the shade of dark red just to the east of Araby, but creeping over to Araby west of I-75. Let's go back to the hail because that's been a good indicator. And remember what I was saying, we could see the re-intensification of that hail core. That's exactly what happened as this hail core moved over towards the west. Now we are seeing some hail that is upwards to close to 1 inch in diameter. So not quite there just yet, but we could see a little bit more of an uptick in this untapped environment that I was talking about. So hail cores really close to 1 inch, plenty of lightning, heavy rainfall, and our fair share of gusty winds that maybe are still not necessarily severe criteria. Actually, there are probably some pockets of severe criteria winds. Let's take away the warning so I can grab these bright pixels right here. 59 miles per hour. I don't know why that one said 47 and that one said 43. Okay, that's because we just got an update in the middle of that. I was about to say they're the same shade. They should be pretty similar in magnitude. 58 miles per hour and 59 miles per hour. So 58, 59 mile per hour winds, that does classify as a severe thunderstorm. So now the winds kind of are driving this severe thunderstorm warning, but also the hail is really close to the parameters for a severe thunderstorm warning. That hail core going to move into the Winona area here pretty shortly, crossing I-75 right now. Not entirely sure what that 33 was, but this little road right here that does connect I-75 and Highway 41 in Winona, just to the south of downtown Cordele. It does look like the hail core maybe will dodge downtown Cordele. However, as you go a little bit farther down to the south on Highway 41, you get to Georgia-Florida Highway, which takes you all the way down to the panhandle of Florida. That's kind of where the hail core is starting, and at its most intense is really close to I-75. So anyone that you know traveling on I-75 during these overnight hours, definitely encourage them to take a brief stop before they get into the Cordele area. Or if they're traveling on I-75 north coming up from South Georgia, then encourage them to continue to maybe just pull over for a brief moment. So we did just get a couple of beeps that you heard. Let's take away, not the warnings, that's what I want to keep, and the lightning. Okay, so some very weird shapes right now. We're playing Geometry Dash with some of the severe thunderstorm warning boxes, but this is because we are seeing a lot of them get trimmed back. So this warning box right here that does encompass Cordele, this was once a big hexagon that extended back into Pulaski County, Dooley County, Wilcox County. we've seen those areas trimmed out of this severe thunderstorm warning. We just saw that weird triangle right there that encompassed Rochelle. That was allowed to expire. So now we just see Chris County really remaining in this severe thunderstorm warning. Of course, some portions of Sumter County. This is far southeastern Sumter County, so close to the Lake Blackshear area in Sumter County. And then obviously all these beeps that you're hearing, when you see some of these warnings flash up bright yellow, that's going to be an update to them, or that's going to be a new warning. But we've had these warnings present. They're just trimming areas out that we can give the all clear to now. Still encompassing Vienna. Let's take a look at the reflectivity and see how it's looking up there. Yeah, still some some heavy pockets of rain that are around Vienna that are going to be right there by I-75. Just got a new radar scan. It looks like give it maybe another 10 minutes at the most, and then the heaviest impacts will be out of Vienna. Areas over to the west of Vienna, that would include Drayton, that would include Highway 27, Georgia Highway 90. Can't seem to find any other very small towns. So Drayton down in southwest Dooley County, that's where the heaviest impacts are going to move through here in about the next 10 minutes or so. And then they stretch all the way down pretty close to Cordele, but really right around the Winona area, just south of Cordele. This hail core is still pretty widespread, but the brown colors are going to more so indicate maybe a pea-sized hail. At the very most, let's take a look at this lighter shade that we do see, more of an orange color, about a ½ inch in diameter. So that's getting up to maybe about penny, maybe dime-sized hail, just to try to give you a little bit of a reference. But overall, hail below 1 inch in diameter isn't as much to worry about as opposed to getting close to quarter and ping pong ball sized hail. But it's still not something you want to be outside for. And once again, I'm going to sound like a broken record, but not many of you are outside, I'm sure, in the middle of the night continuing to watch some of these thunderstorms. It's a pretty cool spectacle, but of course, be sure to remain indoors while you're still hearing those rumbles of thunder, seeing those flashes of lightning, which does remind me, let's go back to our sky cam real quick. Keep seeing these flashes of lightning off in the distance, and yeah, there you go. You just saw one over on the right side of your screen. It would probably help if I move this camera more immediately towards the south, since this storm has kind of traversed over to the west just a little bit. And this is also the image that is currently present on I-75. Get just 1 second. There's a good flash of lightning right there. Oh, I thought it was going to pop up. Maybe I was looking at the back on that screen right there, but there's a little bit of a delay with some of the lightning strikes that we do see between some of the screens we have in here. But nonetheless, we'll get back to the satellite and radar picture, because that's what many of you want to know. Where are those heaviest impacts? And really, if I pause it right here and I'll try to draw a line that I won't hopefully butcher too much, this circle right here. So it really goes from Vienna all the way down I-75 to Araby in southern Chris County. Hasn't quite made it to Lake Blackshear just yet, but Lake Blackshear very close, probably about 10 minutes in time to watching this cluster right here continue to move over to the west, maybe even a little bit towards the southwest right here. So somewhere in this general direction. Obviously these storms are really kind of just going and feeding off any ingredients that they have left to work with in terms of humidity, in terms of the heat, instability. But going into the overnight hours, I mean, this isn't something we typically see during the summertime months. You have to have a lot of the parameters, and the one thing that we really had that's continuing to drive this severe weather threat into the overnight hours when temperatures are cooling, you don't have as much to work with, has been that heat advisory earlier today, because it was blistering hot. Lots of surface heating, lots of moisture at the surface continues to contribute to a lot of rising motion, and that's exactly what you do need associated with some strong and some severe thunderstorms in nature. So downtown Cordele, things getting pretty loud outside. Just continue to remain indoors. Winona as well, but it looks like the heaviest patch of this rain has moved out over towards the west. Marshall, that's where things are probably already starting to get more intense. Rains as well, and then only going to get more intense as you see this. I keep doing that. It's going to drive me crazy. This pocket right here of dark red and some pinks, some scattered flashes of lightning. However, we're not necessarily seeing as much lightning as we did see just a little bit ago. So let me take it back to here actually, which does give me an idea. Take away the warnings. This little cluster right here, we're not seeing. This is actually the time I do want to use this box. That was the wrong box, of course. Okay, going to have to refresh some of my radar skills, obviously, because I keep clicking the wrong thing. I believe that's the pointer. There we go, that's the box I wanted. So right here, where the remaining impacts do remain, 57 lightning strikes. So right now that's giving you the charges of lightning strikes. If you're a real science geek like us here on the weather team, then obviously you can go do your research and talk or figure out which was a negative and which was a positive, but virtually equal in the number of those strikes. So there is a little bit of some better news. It's 2:30 now, 2:31 to be exact. The clock is kind of just continuing to go as I continue to yap about these storms during the overnight hours. But 2:30 now, we did see that other severe thunderstorm warning that once Ben gave me the handoff right there when we got that warning issued. 2:30 was the expiration time, and right on cue, that warning has expired. Still seeing some heavy thunderstorm impacts outside this polygon, so maybe not moving as fast as the National Weather Service anticipated. Still a good heavy band of rain that is stretching just to the north and the northeast of this last remaining polygon. And this last remaining polygon that kind of looks like a origami swan right here. Crisp in Sumter County until 2:45. Have another 13 minutes to go until hopefully we are all clear of severe weather here in central Georgia. But really this main pocket of the dark reds and the pinks where we see those scattered flashes of lightning and even still some small hail cores continuing to pop up just to the east of Marshall, pretty close to Rains, I do believe. Down to the southwest of Winona, and then another hail core just closer up to Cordele right here. Let's take a look at the size of that hail now. 1/2 inch in diameter, and that northern pocket about 2/10 of an inch in diameter. So still not meeting severe criteria necessarily. Go back to the base velocity, look at some of the winds. I think the heaviest pocket of winds is right over here by Marshall. I got to take away the warnings box or it's just going to flash up the warning for you. 56 miles per hour. So right there around flirting with severe thunderstorm criteria, but not necessarily flirting with it because obviously you do see the severe thunderstorm warning that we still have present. So this last one for Crisp and Sumter counties, kind of west of Lake Blackshear, going to go for the next 15 minutes or so. Hopefully most of Lake Blackshear can at least avoid the pockets of dark red, the maroons, getting into the pink shades. Still some pockets of heavy rainfall up here in Dooley County, don't get me wrong, just north of Vienna, a couple of lightning strikes clustering together right there. Let's take it over to the hail core. Don't think anything's going to pop up. No. That area is already worked over, but that's just kind of the northern edge of these lingering impacts that we still do see. Back over in Pulaski County, you still see some shades of red, some shades of orange over there. So your isolated pockets of some heavy rainfall, and some of those exist still down in Telfair County near Lumber City, getting into southeastern Wheeler County, kind of the panhandle of Wheeler County, if you will. And then we go back up to the rest of central Georgia. A lot of the rain is continuing to thin out, get a lot lighter in nature once you see it transitioning into these yellows, into these green colors, and eventually after the green, the light, very light green color, you're dealing with nothing in the way of rainfall, just plenty of water that still is at the surface. Let's see where Ben's 24-hour rainfall graphic is. I know where everything is in my workspace, but not quite sure where Ben puts everything in his. Oh well, we can worry about that in the morning show. So mark your alarm, set your alarm for 2.5 hours if you want to pull an all-nighter with me, and we can talk about some of those rainfall totals during the morning show, kind of recap what we saw overnight and what we're expecting for the rest of the work week, which is all good news, and I'm sure a lot of you are going to be happy to hear that. It's still going to be hot, don't get me wrong, but we're at least getting out of that heat advisory criteria. High temperatures back more so in the low 90s. They're going to feel a little bit warmer, but probably below the triple digits in most areas. And then the rain chances looking very scattered in nature. We could still see a storm or two, but it's going to be very isolated in nature, not widespread like what we've seen over the past couple of hours. So Lake Blackshear, looks like there's a weak area of reflectivity right here on the southern edge of the lake, but some heavy rainfall on the northern side of the lake. Highway 280 going to Cordele, Highway 41. Looks like the heaviest impacts are still continuing to move to the west of those areas. Now the heaviest pockets of rain still lie in Marshall. I have to zoom in to find Rains right there. You get to Pateville down in southwest Crisp County, and then you cross the county line into Worth County, and that's going to be Acorn Pond, Warwick, areas that are still very close over by the lake on Lake Blackshear. But we take away the lightning, and then you can see those cores of the dark reds, and then the purple, or not the purples, the pinks, excuse me, are going to indicate your heaviest rainfall, where still some small hail can be found. Right now it's still pea-sized. Wouldn't doubt if we continue to see a little bit of a roller coaster with this, continuing to gain size, continuing to weaken in size and get lesser in size. But right now they're really just remaining somewhere probably about 0.2 of an inch, 0.3 of an inch in diameter. So a little bit above what I was thinking, but still this is not going to classify as severe level threat hail whatsoever. We continue to look at the winds, and mainly I've been doing that just for the straight line wind purposes, but obviously we did see that brief area of rotation up in Upson County earlier, probably about a couple hours ago, and that just kind of sporadically happened. It was only about one radar signature where you could really pick it out. It was an outflow boundary interacting with what we call an updraft. So it did create some rotation, but I kind of doubt that there was anything that was going to be confirmed on the ground associated with that, just given how short-lived that rotation signature was. But of course, if we get some damage reports from there, National Weather Service will go out and do its due diligence and get a damage report for us if we did see anything, maybe even a EF0 in nature. 49-mile-per-hour winds at the most, I believe, is what I can find just to the west of Marshall, maybe 50 down here, 47 miles per hour right across the county line, 47 miles per hour. So still not seeing winds that are getting up to 58 miles per hour in nature. So it does look like this pocket of heavy rain up here on the northern edge of Lake Blackshear, continuing to move west over the lake. In this last little corner of central Georgia, Marshall, Rains, and then down to Pateville. Looks like the heaviest impacts have already moved out of Pateville and are going to continue to move through Marshall and Rains, and then they will cross the county line, and I can finally issue the all clear. And still not saying that you won't get woken up by a rumble of thunder or two throughout the rest of tonight. You still see how scattered all these lightning strikes are across the rest of central Georgia. But 2:45, another 10 minutes on this severe thunderstorm warning. Maybe we'll see some areas even get trimmed a little bit out of this warning. Really, I just think, honestly, this is a pretty well-drawn polygon right here, because you can see heavy pockets of rain up here around Lake Blackshear over into Sumter County, and heavy pockets of rain right down here in south and southwestern Chris County. The rain does get a little bit lighter in nature, but still pretty heavy rainfall around Cordele, Winona, getting over to Araby. But the heaviest rain is going to be found here, where we're still seeing some very small hail cores right now. This is once again just going to be pea-sized hail once you get it to about 0.2 of an inch in diameter, 0.3 of an inch in diameter, excuse me. So Highway 300, Georgia Highway 300, just outside of Marshall and Rains. And of course the Lake Blackshear area. I know many of you, summertime, maybe taking a week off, doing a whole week trip to the lake with your family. This will be out of here in the near future. However, northern edges of Lake Blackshear, the heaviest impacts are already moving out of the picture. If you live on southern Lake Blackshear, getting to the county line of Lee County and Worth County, the heaviest impacts are still just to the east of you. If we could continue to just see a general southwesterly direction with this, it would just go over the Marshall and Rains areas, and then it would move over Warwick and get out of our hair, but still being a little bit pestery as we go into, actually no, the radar is a little bit late to update right there. Right now it's about 2:39, so we should see this warning expire here fairly shortly, and I'm not seeing any parameters that are constituting a severe thunderstorm warning, excuse me, anymore. The winds aren't gusting above 58 miles per hour. The hail core is not anywhere near an inch in diameter. I say that, okay. And now the hail core has moved down into Worth County, just southwest of Acorn Pond and just to the east of Davis Mill along Georgia Highway 313. No hail whatsoever that I'm seeing down in Chris County. That's a good sign. The winds, we still have some pockets of some gusts that can get up to 40, maybe close to 50 miles per hour. But we are seeing a steady weakening trend with the cell as it moves out of Chris County. We got 5 minutes to go until this severe thunderstorm warning is allowed to expire, so we'll continue to monitor it until then. And then we'll hop off the air once this warning is allowed to expire, which I do believe is probably the guidance the National Weather Service has given us. Where's my phone, if I can pick it out right here. There are a lot of chats in here. So we did get a message about 30 minutes ago from someone at the National Weather Service talking about clearing the metro Atlanta area from the severe thunderstorm watch and the remaining severe thunderstorm warnings that we have. So this one, and I believe there might be one more still lingering up in western Georgia, northwestern Georgia, are the last areas with meaningful instability. So like I was talking about, that untapped environment. So there's still a little bit of instability to work with down in our southwestern corner. And then the convection should trend downwards from here. The majority of the severe threat has ended. And once this warning pops off, then I think I'm very comfortable giving the all clear. Once again, there's still pockets of some semi-strong thunderstorms, maybe even some low-end thunderstorms. And of course, if one is to pop up out of the blue after we go off air, then we'll hop right back on air and we'll keep you updated for the duration of a warning. But I think just about everywhere is virtually worked over in terms of its instability and all the ingredients that you need for some thunderstorms to get more intense in nature. I mean, just take a look at how much this lightning is scattered out. Take a look at all the gray colors with these lightning strikes. They're still popping up here and there, but overall not seeing those clusters and clumps of lightning together that can indicate pockets of heavy rainfall. And it looks like most of the heaviest impacts, in fact, have moved down towards the south of Chris County, down into Worth County. So that's around Acorn Pond, Davis Mill, and the Warwick area, but still some pockets of heavy rain lingering around Marshall, Rains, Lake Blackshear, southern Lake Blackshear. And that rain is virtually encompassing most of all of Lake Blackshear. There might be a brief little break in the reflectivity that we do see, that patch of green right there, but that also can be some of our radar phenomena that we do see that can happen right there. So probably pretty heavy rain still happening all along Lake Blackshear. But areas like Cordele, getting down into Araby, the rain is thinning out in nature along the I-75 corridor. Wilcox County, Pulaski, and Dooley County, still your isolated pockets of some heavy rain, even some clusters of lightning right here around Byronville and just north of Lilly, not constituting a severe thunderstorm warning, but still maybe getting into a strong thunderstorm warning. Let's actually go check the data feed chat. Severe thunderstorm warnings. Not seeing any special weather statements. Well, the last one I do see, it's quite a while ago. That got sent about 20 minutes ago. So yes, so not constituting even a strong thunderstorm, but still a thunderstorm. So don't be startled if you keep hearing some rumbles of thunder that are right outside. That's just going to become more frequent as we go into the summertime months. Isn't it great to just have this heat and humidity? Thankfully, we are really getting a downtick in it as we go into this afternoon. I'm finally excited to give you some good news, but 2 days in a row with weather impact alerts, 2 days in a row with heat advisories, and on top of that, a heat advisory yesterday for feels like numbers up to 109. That's already bad enough, and then we add in a level 2 and a level 3 risk of severe weather to it. So it's been quite a busy last 24 hours. Let's get into a calmer period as we roll into the end of June and get into the very beginning of July. I'm going to keep my fingers crossed that we keep very scattered rain chances in the forecast for your 4th of July weekend. But right now, the time is 2:44, and we are approaching 30 seconds in that 44th minute of the second hour of the day. So the countdown has begun to see this warning finally go away. It's a pretty cool warning, though, I will say. Like I was saying earlier, kind of a little bit of an origami swan right here, just encompassing Lake Blackshear, down in southwest Chris County, Marshall, Rains, and Pateville. Still some pretty heavy and steady rainfall, some pockets on the county line that are a little heavier. Let's flash it over to the hail parameter. No hail remaining in Chris County anymore. The wind does look a lot less gusty, and goodbye severe thunderstorm warning. Once these last little pockets move over the county line, and we are officially all clear, but let's just go ahead and issue that all clear. And it does look like even areas down to the south that had plenty of severe thunderstorm warnings, they don't have any warnings left whatsoever anymore. Just had to make sure I had that turned off. Doesn't look like any warnings remain up here in western Georgia. So I think the severe weather threat has officially ended after a bit of a restless start near night. 2:45 in the morning before some of you are probably able to sleep very soundly. So we appreciate you for tuning in to all of this coverage that we've had so far during the overnight hours. It was a long shift for the evening crew, Ben Jones, all our producers working behind the scenes. So we really do thank all of you guys for your hard work and everyone that's come in for the morning shift just a little bit early like myself. We appreciate everyone being on guard with this, but a lot of severe thunderstorm warnings. We'll continue to assess the damage with photos and reports that you send us in the weather network, so only do that when it's safe to do so. And of course, we still have our fair share of some power outages that we were reporting, but hopefully the damage isn't too drastic. It was just our kind of run-of-the-mill severe thunderstorm warnings that you do get when you have a day with heat indices around 109 the day before. So we'll continue to keep a close eye on this radar throughout the next couple of hours, but if we have nothing in the way of warnings, we'll see you back here at 5 a.m. on 13 WMAZ. And of course, you can continue streaming with us and take a live look at that radar on your own time with our 24/7 radar loop on 13 WMAZ Plus. So thanks for sticking with us for the last couple of hours. I'm going to take it off air, if that is okay with you guys, and get some things together to produce or get a morning show together for you. But it's been an active night of weather. Hopefully you can sleep very soundly and have a terrific Thursday now, Central Georgia.
Here in California.